Hello! We are here today to go deep into Nintendo's battles with these poor content creators.
Well, are they really poor? There's quite a standoff between Nintendo and these folks who have been making mods. And some of them have been going into a great amount of detail about what's going on, their thought process, how it aligns with what Nintendo's doing. We're going to go down and break it down in detail.
Yes.
And tell you what we think is happening behind the scenes.
Right.
On
There are two sides to everything. So let's tell you about the two sides, because we certainly have been on one side and now we're on the other side. So yeah, we'll break it down for you. It's an interesting, a bit of a loaded topic, but yes.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. As always, everything on this channel is made possible by our wonderful Patreon subscribers. Thank you very much for keeping all of this going. If you want to support us on Patreon, we are at patreon.com/KitandKrysta. We need your support if you want to keep hearing our insider Nintendo stories. If you want to have us continue making content, support us on Patreon, please.
There's never been an easier way to sign up for Patreon. We have a lot of people who are part of this who have said, this is my first time joining something on Patreon, or I hadn't thought about doing it before. But you can get a 1-week free trial on our most popular tier, which gets you early access to this podcast, access to our Discord, a lot more. And subscriptions start at just $2 a month. So whatever way you choose, it's very easy to jump in and get started with our wonderful community.
Yeah, we were talking to someone in the highest tier of our community, and they were saying that they've never ever signed up for Patreon before, and this was their first time, and they're super involved in everything that we do here, and I was very pleased to be their Patreon only child. I'm a real life only child, so I'm happy to be anyone's Patreon only child. So please sign up and join us. The other fun thing that we're doing, that we're pushing for this year, is returning to Japan.
Yes.
Big trip, big expensive trip. We look at flights all the time to see how much it costs to go to Japan for two of us, and it is
a lot more than it used to be.
It's a lot more than it used to be. And no, we're not flying business class. Contrary to what you guys might think, no, there is no private jet. Yeah, it's a big trip, but it would allow us to make all sorts of really, really cool content for you guys. We want to share with you a lot of our experiences when we were traveling to Kyoto and to Japan for when we were working at Nintendo. We have a lot of cool stories and places that we want to share, people that we want to introduce you to, and we want to go see that we haven't seen in a long time. So to make something like this happen, though, it does take additional funding for us. We are a small business, and we cannot support that on our own. So
we went on a trip before. You just send Nintendo the bill. Say, here's the expense report.
Thanks, Mario.
Thanks for paying it back. Now it's like I'm getting the bill to myself. What?
I know. It is a bit different, especially since we left our full-time jobs there to do this. It's been great, but it does mean we need your support. So if you want to see super cool content from Japan, our new funding is through Super Thanks and Super Chat. We've already received a lot of donations from you guys.
Thank you to everybody for that.
So much. It is so appreciated.
The thermometer thing is going up.
Yes, the thermometer thing right here is going up. I love the thermometer thing. We're going to be doing some streaming this week, so if you want to hang out with us on stream and send us a super thanks or super chat during that, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, so super thanks and super chat things you can do directly in YouTube. It's very easy. You can give however much you like. It's all appreciated.
Yes.
So let's talk about those streams.
Yeah.
So
haven't streamed in a while, so we're kind of excited to get back. It's been really busy over the last few weeks.
Great games coming out.
Yeah.
So by the time you watch this, it may have already streamed Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster.
Yes. You've been looking forward to this game for so
long time.
Long now, and you've been talking my ear off every day about the Pixel Remaster and how upset you were when it was only on mobile, and then the hour changed and that would upset you, and then things changed back and now you're happy again. I don't know, whatever.
I've been foiled at every step trying to play this game, but finally it's going to happen.
Yes.
I think we're going to spend some time just poking around and looking like, generally what's changed, and then I want to get into Final Fantasy IV, which is my favorite one. Soon to be your favorite after you watch me play it, after you understand.
I have my own favorite.
And then the next day, Thursday, right when Advance Wars comes out on Switch, which is 9 Pacific, we are streaming then.
We're going to stream then. We're going to stream the first hour of Advance Wars. We've been waiting for a long... We were still at Nintendo when we were marketing this game.
It's true.
Which is hilarious / weird because it's been like 2 years. A year has passed. Well, more than a year has passed.
A lot that's happened.
2 years
pertaining to this game.
A lot has happened really in those almost 2 years. That's crazy to think about. Anyways, but yes, it's finally coming. Finally, and we're going to be streaming it. We're going to do probably around the first hour or so, or in my own words, is when you decide to have some sort of moment of failure.
It happens, to be fair, but I have played Advance Wars 1 and 2 before, so I think in whatever...
You've also played Metroid Prime...
Whatever chunk we're going to play,
before,
I think I'm going to be okay.
I don't know. We'll see. If you want to see Kit potentially
capture the headquarters. Generate the units. Air superiority.
Okay. Those are some good buzzwords that you're spouting right now.
Kito-san's Art of War. Here we go.
If a tree falls in the forest, it should make a sound. What is the sound of one hand clapping?
It's right there. Figured it out.
I figured it out.
We also have a super fun Super Kit and Krysta 64
I'm excited
that is months in the making that we're finally doing this week. You'll be able to watch this soon. So I have a really strange thing in my collection, which is a pretty complete set of Gizmondo hardware and software. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck is a Gizmondo? What are you talking about?
Too. Actually, I know what it is because you told me about it.
So Gizmondo is a handheld that came out in 2005 by this small but aspirational Swedish company. And it was a huge failure. But I worked at a PR agency that helped to launch the Gizmondo. I was not on the team that was working on this, but my friend was. And when he left the company, he's like, hey, I've got all this Gizmondo stuff. Do you want it? I was like, yeah, I'm dumb enough to take all that.
Yeah,
sure.
You have a bit of a pack rat mentality.
Hey.
You do.
That's mean.
No, it isn't. It's just who you are. It's okay.
I'm a road.
You're like a little bit of a pack rat. You don't throw a lot of stuff away, but it's good that you kept this. This is important.
But the Gizmondo is really interesting, because on paper it had everything to be at a minimum interesting. Yeah. So it was a pretty capable piece of hardware. It could do like 3D graphics back at the time. It had built-in GPS, which was one of its big claims to fame.
Back in 2005.
Look, this is before iPhones.
I was gonna say before how easy it is for GPS. Like we used to have to load it onto our computers. Remember?
Right. It had other kind of stuff you would see in the PSP. Like you could play music or you could watch a movie on it.
Yeah, the entertainment device.
Unfortunately, the company went bankrupt. It was found out that some of the people in the company were involved with the Swedish mafia, unfortunately. There's a famous story about this guy who wrapped a Ferrari around the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. Uh-oh. There's a sordid history about Gizmondo.
Oh, wow. But this is very juicy.
So I have a very full collection of hardware and software. We're going to do a video showing it off.
Right.
But then, tomorrow, we are going to visit the Video Game History Foundation to give all of this to them.
We're going to donate it.
We're doing a good deed.
Yeah, because it is part of video game history. I mean, no matter what a short little blip it was, it did have some sort of significance in the video game community. Yeah. So it should be somewhere, not in a trash pile like I would have done.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of research. So the Gizmondo sold 25,000 units, period. So that's how many of those are out there.
Yeah.
And how many of those are in a dumpster now? Or in some landfill because they never got sold.
Exactly.
So this is sort of our good deed of making sure that this is not a lost point of video game history.
Right.
Frank and Kelsey, who run the foundation, are doing amazing things. They worked with Gerard the Completionist on his video most recently of cataloging all of the eShop games. So I feel great to give it off to them. I mean, frankly, it's just been sitting in my garage for a long time.
It's a good place to have them take it and keep it as part of video game history. And, we do talk a lot about how Nintendo's kind of bad at this when we were working at Nintendo. So we're going to do the opposite. And we're going to be good video game history citizens and make a contribution.
I'll be honest, I did have a twinge as I was packing all this stuff up. James was like, I should just keep all this.
That's why you're a pack rat. You just proved my point.
I know, but they need it more than I do. Again, I'm not.
You can always go see it.
I'm not going to do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's just.
Maybe they'll put a little credit.
Oh, in my honor?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice.
In memoriam.
A placard.
Well,
in memoriam?
Not yet.
What's going on? Is the Swedish mafia coming after me? What's going on?
Are you in the Swedish mafia?
I'm not.
You're Swedish.
Don't start spreading rumors now.
You were in the Ferrari.
It
You were on the Pacific Coast Highway. It was you.
Oh, no.
It was you all along.
This is getting dark.
You're the sordid history. I knew it.
Anyhow,
a confessions episode.
You can look forward to that.
Right.
That's a video you can watch before anybody else with part of your Patreon subscription.
Yes, exciting stuff. Lots of other videos
We
coming
also
out.
have a lot of Zelda stuff coming. We're in the home stretch now to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, we are going to do proper Zelda week, but now we have shifted our minds from Mario movie to like all things Zelda. So we want to do a ton of Zelda stuff leading up to it, which I'm excited about because Zelda is my favorite thing ever.
So yeah, we're going to have at least one Zelda video a week. Probably more.
Yeah.
As we run up to the release of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yay!
Just last week, we did a reaction to the trailer, which we'll talk more about in our news section.
Mm-hmm.
We also did a fun video thinking up some of the potential fuse combinations in the game and what those could be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with all of the new game mechanics in Tears of the Kingdom is it really gets your mind in the experimentation mode. So we did a video where we were basically just guessing what weapons and items and shields and items, arrows and items you could fuse together in Tears of the Kingdom. What will the meat arrow actually do?
We know.
We know.
Because we figured it out.
Yes, exactly. So if you
Wonder
wanna
no
know,
more.
Please watch the video.
Yeah. I saw now there are some Tears of the Kingdom ads. I don't know if you've been seeing these like on YouTube or other places.
I have been seeing them.
And the kind of core message is, what will your imagination come up with, basically?
Right.
Let your imagination run wild.
It's your adventure.
And I really never thought we would ever get a Zelda game where that's the tagline.
I know, right?
It's like, this is not Minecraft. This is not, a Lego game.
It's so funny that everyone was like, oh, so after the gameplay demo thing that Mr. Aonuma did a few weeks ago, everyone's immediate thought was like, okay, so now it's Zelda Minecraft. It's so interesting that was like everyone's first.
I know. But
thought,
we are far ahead of that because we have 15 combos that you should check out.
Yes.
We're recording this week, and you will be watching soon. You put together, you really had to take the lead on this one, because I was like, I don't know about this.
So like after the last trailer that we did the reaction to, I was reading the comments, and I was feeling stuff as I was watching that trailer, and I think everybody collectively, we all felt sort of the emotion.
Your goosebumps.
I got the goosebumps, I definitely was feeling more, just emotion and excitement around what the potential story could be. And I know this is not your favorite thing about Zelda, but it is my favorite thing about Zelda. And it just got me thinking about like all of the great moments in past Zelda games that gave us collectively, I think all of us have had, kind of emotional responses to, whether it made you sad or made you emotional or made you understand the characters more. So I put together a list of top 5 Zelda moments that made me cry, and you sit here like a statue. So that's the title of the video.
They're good scenes. I think we'll be interested to see what 5 you came up with.
I can't believe it.
What?
You just don't.
They're great.
Why aren't you feeling things in your body?
Just because I'm not crying doesn't mean I'm not feeling an emotion or a feeling inside, deep inside. Come on.
What's going on in there?
So you've accused me of being in the Swedish mafia.
That's why
You've accused me of being an unfeeling. Well, these two things go hand in hand. Being Swedish and being an unfeeling.
You're a Swedish
and a pack rat.
You're a pack rat Swedish mafia emotionless statue. That's what you
fan
are.
art of that's going to be off the chain.
Our Patreon community loves to Photoshop you, so get going. Anyways, it made me cry. I don't know what it did to you, but
we're going to talk about them. So we have the top 5.
These are some great scenes.
We are also going to be ranking every incarnation of Ganondorf that we've ever seen.
Yes.
In Zelda games, spin-offs like Smash Brothers or Hyrule Warriors.
Ganondorf glow up.
So
Daddy Dorf.
Now listen to me right now.
No.
When we did that reaction and we saw Ganondorf, you didn't say anything about like, oh, he's hot, or wow.
Well, first of all, the first
I need to excuse myself. So like, I actually don't know. And then you went on vacation right after. So I have no clue how you feel about this.
Well,
we need to know.
We do need to know. And the Ganondorf incarnation in Tears of the Kingdom has caused an uproar on the internets.
Yes.
Daddy Ganondorf is
I'm aware.
It's trending.
But can you tell me?
You want to know right now or you want to know later?
I'd like to know now, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, he's hot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was like, oh.
I mean, you could have just told us all.
I'm not sure when his clothes decided to come off. Because I was looking at the other incarnations of Ganondorf, and we'll go into more of this in our tier list, but like, he was wearing like proper clothes. Like he had like a shirt on. I don't know. How come he has no, I mean, I'm not complaining, just to be clear. He is completely jacked.
Yeah.
And he's not wearing a shirt anymore. And he looks like really good. Like what happened?
Well, he's in various layers of robes. And you know, like a robe is hard to, it doesn't always keep in place. Like it's got that little tie-on belt, but it always ends up.
He's got like
and he's very active. I mean, if you're gonna be that buff, you gotta be active. So it just happens.
He has
you
like
see?
a morning after, like, I'm gonna bring you breakfast in bed vibe.
It just
right
happens.
Now.
You understand?
In this half put on robe, like, I'll eat your breakfast.
We need to move on immediately before this gets lurid. Real quick, so you were in Mexico City, otherwise known as Ciudad de Mexico.
I was. Oh, very good.
I want to know, did you see any neat gaming stuff? Like,
I did.
You said I saw you saw some picture of the Mario movie.
Yeah, so they apparently they did this huge partnership with 7-Elevens for the Mario movie, and in pretty much every 7-Eleven when I would go in and get a water or something like that, they had some Mario just like advertisements up and around. But in this one neighborhood, I was sort of on the outskirts of the neighborhood called Condesa, which I guess is supposed to be like a bit like a younger, sort of more like hip neighborhood. Definitely like could get that vibe. They had this huge like 7-Eleven Mario movie partnership where they like wrapped the whole store.
Oh, really?
There was like all this cool artwork of.
Is that picture you posted that had the pipe?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a movie theater.
No, that was a 7-Eleven.
Oh, wow.
So it had like the big, Mario movie like logo on the top. A pipe was the entrance.
Yeah. Super Mario Brothers, La Película. That's what it said.
Yeah. And inside was like a lot of decorations too. I'll post some pictures, but I was like, this is so cool.
Oh, that's neat.
And like all outside of it, like in true Mexico City fashion, were like street vendors selling you like lots of Mario stuff. So they were like plushies and like, who knows if they're legit or not, but like plushies and posters, and people were into it. I saw lots of people taking photos of it and everything.
That's cool.
And then like even, I was going around a lot of the little street markets and stuff because I love that. There was like, Mario and Luigi were very popular. There was like a lot of, whether it's like figures or Halloween costumes or plushies, it was pretty much everywhere. So I was excited to see that.
That's
like
neat.
It was really neat.
Yeah.
It seemed like people were into it, like Mario, gaming stuff there.
Yeah.
So it was
That's always something I like to do when I'm on a trip is like, what is the gaming scene or culture
Seems very
like
vibrant.
here?
Feels very vibrant.
Yeah.
It was very cool. Very cool.
Nice. We have a wonderful story that we will be telling you about the Zelda 25th Anniversary Symphony in just a moment.
Yes.
Because first, we have to say this episode is sponsored by HelloFresh.
Woohoo!
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
This came in like a pinch hitter this week for me because I was on vacation, as you said. And of course, I had cleaned out, my refrigerator and made sure everything was, I didn't have food like rotting in my fridge. But I timed a HelloFresh delivery.
Look at you.
For when I came back. So last night, I was able to whip together a quick dinner. I had been flying and traveling all day. I was really tired. I definitely didn't want to keep eating out because I had eaten out while I was on vacation. So I was able to have a nice, quick homemade meal fresh ingredients because I just got it delivered that day, and it was perfect.
Yeah, that's
Such
great.
a great way to like reintegrate after vacation, you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, going back to things being expensive and the flights we were talking about, eating out is expensive.
So expensive.
Somehow going to the
not
grocery
healthy.
store is
Yeah.
also very expensive. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, well, which is actually better? But somehow HelloFresh is like the perfect middle path of it's like, well, everything comes to me and it's portioned and I don't need to
That's
go to
the
the
thing.
store.
Yeah.
And somehow like all numbers wise, it's
wasteful.
like this is a great solution.
Right.
Yeah.
Super, super nice.
Yeah.
Really, really good solution. And I think all the meals are really delicious.
A lot of selection.
I did the pescatarian one again. I made Chiapino last night. A San Francisco.
Could you say that again? Chiopino?
Chiapino? Is that
Wow.
how you pronounce it? I don't know.
I think it's just Chapino. You had a couple extra syllables there, but okay.
But it's spelled with C-I-O.
Oh, boy.
P-P-I-N-O. What? Anyways, HelloFresh though.
Yes, go to HelloFresh.com/KitKrysta50 and use code KitKrysta50 for 50% off. Plus, your first box ships free. I repeat, go to HelloFresh.com/KitKrysta50 and use code KitKrysta50 for 50% off. Plus, your first box ships free. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Put the link right here and also in the description below. Check it out.
All right. So this Zelda Symphony, we're going to talk about this in our story time here. You know, a lot of times when we were at Nintendo, we would get asked, like, oh, what's your favorite memory or your like top 3 favorite memories?
Yeah, on every anniversary, we would get asked.
This was always pretty high up for me, this
too.
specific event.
Me too. This one was really special. And I think it sort of marked for me, like almost like the beginning of our relationship with Mr. Aonuma.
Yes.
I think that's what made it really special because after that event, it really felt like our relationship with him changed.
Yeah. I was trying to think back to, was this the first time that I met him? And I don't think it was. I think I had met him at an E3 prior.
Exactly.
But
this is the time I got to know him.
unless I was working with him deeply on a project, those E3s can be just like, hey, nice to meet you, see you later, kind of thing.
Or you're like staffing an interview, so you're just sitting quietly in the corner, making sure the media don't ask him any weird questions.
Right.
You don't have as much interaction with him. But this is the time where I think we had our first like sort of deeper personal interactions with him.
Yeah.
And then like afterwards, we felt like we were like, you know, almost like friends, and we did all sorts of cool stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was October 2011, obviously the 25th anniversary. Skyward Sword came out the next month.
Right.
So it was a very busy time for us.
Yeah.
Preceding this, though, we should say, at E3 2011, kind of kicked this whole thing off because we had the Symphony at the E3 press conference.
The press conference. Yeah, that was the opener.
Now is kind of something you see a lot at these events. The Game Awards does it.
Yeah.
Sony did it a couple times when they were still doing press conferences. But back then, you have to give them a lot of credit. This was a very innovative idea.
That was very innovative. Yeah. And I remember when that Symphony moment happened. Talk about like, did you feel something in your body? Like, did you get goosebumps? That was one of those moments where you look out into the audience and everybody had like an emotional response to that type of, you know, representation of Zelda. And I think it was truly one of those like magical press conference moments that kind of kicked off the 25th anniversary for the Zelda franchise.
It's amazing, but I was like, we brought all these people together for a 2-minute performance.
I know.
It's a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of people.
Well, later on, the symphony went on.
Yeah, I know. But just at that press, like, could we just play like a whole concert when this wraps up? And
I know.
Let people hang around? That would be cool.
It was literally just the open.
It was 2 minutes.
That was it.
If that. Yeah.
It was just the open.
And then they came out and they talked about the anniversary, talked about Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's where the first kind of seed of this started to get out. And we knew there was going to be this big symphony happening. We knew there was going to be this one-off concert, and they were going to do one in all 3 of the main regions. So I think London was Europe, and then, of course, Tokyo they did in Japan. We had heard rumblings that this might become this big tour, but at that point, it was very much just like, no, we're going to do a one-off, and we're going to see what happens, and we'll figure things out from there.
Right.
So we knew this was happening, but we got brought into this pretty late, I would say, and there were some frantic moments for sure.
There were. And we were actually brought in because we were both working on Skyward Sword.
Right.
That was the reason why I think at first it was like sort of a separate thing, and we didn't really know, to your point, like how big it was going to be. But then it sort of spiraled out of control into like this huge moment, and it became really like the pre-launch moment for Skyward Sword.
Yeah, there was sort of a smaller team that was working on it behind the scenes, and we were not part of that, and we were not really getting a lot of updates. But then all of a sudden it was, all right, here's the details, here's who's coming, this is what's happening, we got to figure all this out. And it was a lot that was dropped on us. Again, you know,
this happens a lot.
The PR team just getting these random things dumped on us,
Make it happen.
whether it's PR or not. So, for example, one of the things that we had to figure out, like literally days after getting this assignment, was okay. The Symphony is at Pantages Theater, which is this great historic theater in Los Angeles. Los Angeles has all these great historic theaters, which are beautiful. But we need to deck out the exterior and interior with all these giant like scrolls and banners.
It was like marquee graphics for like that you would make to launch a movie, basically.
Yeah.
And like, of course, none of us have ever done that before.
Is that public relations? Would you call that public relations?
No, because I literally had to figure out how to do it, and it was very
this was like, you saved me on this project like so many times.
No idea.
Because it was like, well,
Googled
I don't know how to do this, and I also don't have the time to do this because I'm trying to figure out how to launch this game.
Yeah.
So it was like, Krysta, can you please like help me and save the day? And you absolutely did. You figured it out. Like that's one of your best qualities is like even when there's something that you don't like necessarily know 100% how to do, like you don't let that hold you back. You just attack it.
I did have a lot of help with our wonderful events team who are like amazing. But I definitely had to like I had a moment of like, where do I start? Like I don't even know. Like do I have to call the Pantages Theater, like get their measurements and like all this crazy stuff. It looked really cool though. It looked beautiful.
But again, we had literally like 48 hours.
I know. Yeah.
So I mean,
we gotta print this.
You were sending like people approve this. Like I need this approved in like an hour.
Right, because it's like you need to print it in time for it to be placed.
Right.
And there was no time. Like those deadlines were really aggressive.
It was just like deadline after deadline after deadline.
And I think the next thing after that was like we want to do sort of this like lobby experience where people can play Skyward Sword because again everything's in service to the game that was launching. So that was another like fire drill of like how do we get like all of those playable systems into the Pantages Theater. This like old theater has like no elevator, like crazy stuff like that we had to figure out. Like where are we going to like have people play and experience the game? What if if media come, like what do we do? So that was a whole other like event nightmare that we had to deal with.
Right. So at the event, Mr. Aonuma and Mr. Kondo came.
Yeah.
And we were sort of responsible for shepherding them through their schedule, and they were on a pretty tight schedule. So they were the kind of plan for them was come in that day, go see the final rehearsal, and just kind of sign off on everything.
Yeah.
And then next day is the event, and they were doing some stuff. They were giving remarks, and that was kind of it. Like we're going off to the next thing after that.
Right. I always thought that Symphony things were really interesting because it's not like a band where like you practice your set list like with the same people for like years and years and years, and then you go on tour and perform it. It's always like they just go to a city.
It's a new group every time.
They call it's like local musicians from that city, and then you have like 1 to 2 days to just figure it out as a group. And think about how many people are in an orchestra. You just give them the sheet music and they just play. It's like, how does this work? So it's always like a dicey moment, especially with, Nintendo and music. And we did a lot of music projects where it's like, well, you don't really get the chance to like see this much earlier than like the day before the performance. Right. So like bringing Mr. Kondo and Mr. Aonuma, it's like, well, hopefully they can play this well.
Hope this doesn't suck.
Hope it doesn't suck. Yeah, exactly. It's like, here's the sheet music, like 1, 2, 3, let's go. And hopefully everyone does a good job, and it was fine, obviously.
I mean, honestly, there wasn't much they could do if it did suck. It was like, the show must go on.
It's so scary.
But the tickets are out there.
Tickets are already sold.
Venue's booked. Yeah. You guys are here.
Yeah, and like, to the guy that wrote the music, it's like, please don't mess this up in front of this guy.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be pretty bad.
Right.
So it's kind of nerve-wracking.
So like you were saying, this was our first big interaction with Mr. Aonuma and Mr. Kondo. I remember I went to LAX to pick them up because for some reason, normally they travel with...
Like an entourage.
Or at a minimum, one person who's there to kind of help them out.
There's nobody.
And that's the team that we usually interface with. So, you know, we're pretty tight with those people. This time it was just the two of them flying over. And I waited so long at customs for them to come through
You're like,
that I really started to wonder, like, were they on this plane? And I went to the counter, because I'd been waiting for over an hour.
Wow.
Past, like, the time I thought they would come out.
Right.
I went to the counter, I was like, can you tell me if these people were actually on this plane? Like, sir, legally, we cannot tell you, yeah. I was like, oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
So normally I would have the phone number of the person, that third person flying with them. In this case, I didn't have Mr. Aonuma's phone number. I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out. Like, he's not on this airplane. What are we going to do?
What happened to
We're
him?
screwed.
Where is he?
He eventually came out. Like, he was like, we just got so hung up. Like, the line was like
Ridiculously
epically long,
yeah.
like you've never seen.
Yeah.
So they get off the plane. They're exhausted. But guess what? We need to take this big van to San Diego immediately to see the rehearsal.
The rehearsals, yeah.
Because that's where they were rehearsing. So San
That's a
Diego,
long trip. It's
San
like 2
Diego
hours
is
away.
like a 2 to 3 hour trip depending on the traffic. So these poor guys, literally off the airplane from Japan, just stuff them into this van to road trip to San Diego.
Take a nap.
I feel bad for them.
Take a nap.
That
in
is
the
hard.
van.
But we got to the rehearsal venue. It was this kind of very small, music center, and that was the first time we got to hear the music, which was incredible.
It was incredible. You did something bad that day.
I didn't do anything bad.
You did.
What are you talking about?
Tell the people what you did.
No. So they were using, what would you call these?
It's sheet music.
But what do you call that actual thing? The scorebook? Or?
Yeah, it's a scorebook.
Right, so they had all these scorebooks, and which had literally all the written music for the whole thing. I was given one.
You took it.
I was given one. Somebody says, like, oh, if you want to follow along, you can just grab one. They just had a stack of them. So I had it, and then I kept that. So I have that. That's a great memento for me. I wonder how many of those are out there. More or less than Gizmondo's. Probably less. Probably less.
It's like 100, maybe?
But Mr. Aonuma and Mr. Kondo, you could tell, really loved the music. They were really excited about this.
Yeah.
You could tell, though, the music was slightly rough.
Yeah.
And that was
a little nerve-wracking.
That was my critique of all of these concerts. I ended up going to 3. I don't know how many you ended up going to.
Like 4 or 5, like a lot. Because I worked on it for like a long time.
We both went to that one. The company sent us to one in San Francisco.
I went to one in Seattle.
We went to that one together.
Oh, that's right. We went to that
and then
one
maybe
together.
you went to a couple more.
I went to one in New York, I believe, as well.
But like you were saying, the nature of that event where they just bring these people in, they learn it like the crash course.
Yeah.
The performances were never perfect.
Yeah.
But I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's not like the Philharmonic, I think in London
Excuse
it actually
you.
was.
I think it was.
Like, what symphony? Like, they should use did they use the San Francisco Symphony? Davies?
I think so, yeah.
Because they're good.
That's where it was.
I go to that.
Well, they're all good.
I go to that all the time.
I mean, you might need more than an hour to learn
practice,
this pages and pages.
I mean, I didn't mind it because I just loved the experience of it. But yeah, I mean, there was maybe a mistake or two along the way.
Yeah.
You're playing like whatever, it's fine.
So coming out of that rehearsal, everybody's very happy, feeling good. Stuff them back into that van.
Oh no!
And then we're driving back up
to LA,
the coast, and at that point, they're just completely KO'd.
They're KO'd.
They're out.
Yeah. I've definitely fallen asleep in many car rides with Mr. Aonuma.
What?
There was another time where I KO'd in the car with him. You were the only one that was awake.
I will never fall asleep.
You never, me and him.
Somebody
and
needs to stay
two other
awake.
people were like.
I was not driving for the record either.
No.
Oh my gosh, never. No. So next day is the performance. We get to the venue. We get to see the venue in detail.
It looks so beautiful.
Looks perfect.
It looks perfect.
So well done by you.
All the fans come in to get to play the game early in the lobby before the show starts. So many people are in costumes. Dressed up. Like all of the fandom was there. I think whenever the developers get to see just the passion of the fans, it always like brightens them,
Right.
And I think this was one of those experiences for sure where they're like, looked out, they peeked out into the lobby from their little hidey hole and was like, oh my gosh, look at all these people all dressed up, so excited about Skyward Sword. And it really like brought joy, to their hearts. So it was really cool to see that.
And they were true surprise guests.
Yeah.
So people didn't have any expectation that they were going to be there.
Exactly.
And first it was Mr. Aonuma who went out and made some remarks which were great, and he got a huge ovation.
Yeah.
And
that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, that's why that was one of my favorite events from our time at Nintendo.
I shed a tear.
Was that, for all the great things that they've created and done, like they don't have that many opportunities to really get that outpouring of love.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like when you're just like making a game and you're like tunnel vision into it, it's hard to like pull yourself out to see the impact.
Yeah.
So giving them the opportunity to do that, no matter what that looks like, is really important. And it makes me a little bit sad that now they really have less and less opportunity to do that, right?
Right.
Like, you don't see them going to events very often anymore, if ever. Yeah. So this was one of those moments where you truly saw, like, their cups were refilled, kind of, by the outpouring of love.
Right, there is a good kind of, people who are in game development talk about morale all the time, and that's a huge morale builder.
Yeah, it's like you just worked yourself to the bone for, like, years on this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one who's there, but he can go back and he can tell the team all about it and share these stories, and that has a big impact on everybody.
Absolutely.
And he has had a lot more opportunities of this over the years, like winning Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Yes, I was going to say that was another
example.
Moment, but like he, and he's come to like Comic-Cons before, and we'll tell that story another time. So he definitely has had, and I think he truly like he wants to do this,
Yeah.
But it was really great to see like that moment for him, sort of culminate on stage.
Right, and then the performance goes on, and if you've never seen one of these performances, it's set to visuals.
Yeah.
So, scenes taken from the games, other custom visuals, kind of visualizations of Zelda that are made, and it's a really impactful
powerful
effect.
Yeah, really powerful. When you combine the two, it's like really, like it definitely, there, those emotional moments we talk about, they really like pull at those heartstrings in those visuals.
So again, there's so many other symphonies and video game symphonies. It seems like you're on this circuit of like pop culture symphonies. What was the last one you went to?
Hocus Pocus.
Star Trek. What? Hocus Pocus?
Well, I went to this thing that was really cool. It's like movie night at the San Francisco Symphony.
Yeah.
Where they play the movie, but the orchestra does the soundtrack. So I saw Hocus Pocus on Halloween. That was great.
But again, in 2011...
This is like novel.
I think there was maybe like one or two. I think again, Tommy Tallarico, friend of the podcast, he had one, and there might have been something for Final Fantasy around that time.
Yeah.
But this was really a novel idea, and look at where Nintendo is now with the movie and all these other entertainment things. This did feel like a very tiny first step into that world.
Exactly. It's like, it's not a game. We're doing something that's beyond a video game.
That was the other thing.
Once,
that was the other thing that was special about it, was like, it's more than just a game, and you see how this tiny piece of it has impacted so many people so strongly. Right.
The other moment, sort of the stage surprise moment, was Mr. Kondo coming out. And I remember we were like talking to him right before, and he's a very quiet, very reserved man, and he looked a little nervous. And
he does get nervous.
He does get nervous. Yeah. And I remember I was sitting back there with him, and I was like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, you feeling okay?" And he was like, "I'm a little nervous." I'm like, "About what part?" And he was like, "Oh, just the speaking part. I don't like to speak in front of people, but." As soon as I sit down on the piano, I know I'll be okay, because I can do that like in my sleep, basically. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's like not the opposite. Like I remember old piano recitals where I was like so nervous, but yeah, it's like that's his comfort zone, And he played Grandma's theme from Wind Waker, and yeah, you could tell like when he was on stage, he was sort of quiet and a little bit reserved and nervous doing his opening remarks. Mr. Oni was much more comfortable on stage, I think. And then he sits in on the piano and just like shines. Like, this is like what he's meant to do, And it's really cool to see that and just like be with him in that moment and stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is like, you found your calling. Like this is what you're meant to do, It's really amazing.
Right.
Yes.
So we're making our list of the top 5 things that made you cry. Did this performance make you cry?
Yes, I'm getting a little teary right now. You had a pocket full of tissues for me.
I was ready because you were talking the whole time. Like, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry. And where were your tissues? Nowhere.
You
didn't have them.
I didn't have any tissues at all. I didn't have pockets. You had pockets.
I had pockets. All right, that's the compromise.
Wearing a pocket.
I see. So the performance finishes really incredible. There's videos on Nintendo's channel where they were doing testimonials, sort of, and you can see people talking about it. Like, you can see they were really touched. I was doing a bit of research last night. I found a review of the Symphony that was on Destructoid, and it was like such a glowing, well-written review. I was like, oh wow, this person really had a great time. And then I got to the end.
Who is it?
It was Chad Conselmo, who you might know. Chad works at Golan, which is Nintendo's PR agency.
I love it.
And he's the nicest guy ever, and like just the purest soul.
Yeah.
And the purest Nintendo fan. But he worked at Destructoid, so
Before-
I didn't know he was there. That's so funny.
That is the sweetest. Of course, it was Chad, the sweetest person
Right,
on this
right.
earth, would write a glowing review for the Symphony. That was like the most heartwarming moment of all of our lives.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So after that, we all went out to dinner. They were really like reveling in that moment, which again was really
They
heartwarming.
always want like the heaviest dinner at
Yeah.
like 10 p.m.
It's like I need a
steak dinner.
I need a 28-ounce ribeye
yeah,
tomahawk
but it's like
steak.
10:45 at night. So
like
I'm
5 minutes before the restaurant closes.
I know, and so
Yeah.
we're obviously. I remember we had a moment too at dinner where Mr. New was like speaking Japanese, and obviously, and we had our translators and all that stuff. But we're talking about like foods that we don't like, and then they were like, "What is the Japanese word for?" They were saying this all in Japanese, but I think they were trying to find the word for cilantro because he doesn't like cilantro. But I guessed it before he said it in English.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, how did you know?" I'm like, "I don't know. I feel like that was what you were gonna say."
Okay.
See, I like cilantro. To be fair, he's one of those people that thinks it tastes like soap.
Can't relate. So yeah, it was just a really perfect tribute to them, tribute to the series.
Yeah.
And went on to be, how many years did that symphony go on tour?
Over 2 years, yeah.
A long time.
A long time.
It just went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And you wonder if Nintendo will ever do some sort of event like that. They certainly could if they wanted to.
They definitely
easily.
Could. They
easily.
can add like some sort of show maybe to the Super Nintendo World experience.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be cool. They have that, at Disneyland, right? They have like fireworks shows with the music. They should do that.
Oh, I see.
That'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, so that's an event that I think both of us will never forget.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're going to cherish that memory forever. But it was really great to be a part of that. And 10 years later for the 35th anniversary.
You got a
did
Game & Watch and that was it.
nothing.
You got a Game
So
&
there
Watch.
there is the difference in
10 years can make
people.
a big difference.
We're all different people
Yeah.
10 years later.
We do not have a Never a Minute segment this week because
The massive monster news section.
the news section just got out of control this week.
Yeah.
And to prevent this from being a
4-hour episode.
podcast, we're not going to do it. So we're just going to skip that for this week.
Yeah.
But we're going to go straight to the games we are playing.
Yes.
And I want to start with you because there was all this intrigue. Again, you've been keeping secrets
I'm not.
about what your big travel game on this trip was.
Yeah.
So tell us.
Okay. I finally played the Bayonetta Origins demo.
Perfect.
Because you were totally right. It's like not very long, and it was the perfect little playing game for me to play.
How long is that flight?
To Mexico City, about 4 hours.
Okay.
It's not long at all. It's actually a really easy trip, and but this was the perfect game for it. And I was complaining last week that I haven't really had the time to sit down with some of these demos or some of these little shorter indie games and haven't made much of an effort to try to discover some new stuff. So try to remedy that on this trip and got the Bayonetta demo. And again, this is, Bayonetta is a series that I don't completely click with, but this one, after you played it and told me about it, it definitely is more in the vein of games that I do like.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. I mean, obviously the art style is super unique and really beautiful and like cool to look at. It's really interesting to get to know Bayonetta's origin story. There's certainly like a lot about her character that I've never thought about before. Like, why is she the way she is? And they talk a lot about her parents and her like really sad childhood and what she's going through. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting about this demo that they really like make a big deal to tell you about is like that she's really fearful. She's not like when you see her later in the game, she doesn't seem fearful at all. She's like, really tough, like action-oriented character. But this is like she started out as like a scared little kid, basically. So to see that kind of personality develop through this game is really cool. And the gameplay is really interesting. It's definitely one of those like, it's a little bit hard to get used to because you feel like you're like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time.
Once you start controlling the two characters at once,
you can get into that mode, the hug mode, which is really cute, where you just like hold the cat.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot they really require you. It's kind of like that game that we streamed together, Blanc.
Mm-hmm, it
where
was.
It's like you need the Cheshire character. Which is like this demon-possessed stuffed animal, basically, to do certain things. But you also need to control Bayonetta to do like certain things as well. And it is like a little bit like, wait, I need to like my right side, left side of the brain is a little confused. But yeah, the gameplay, the actual gameplay part of it is pretty interesting. Like, she can't really attack at all. She can like bind them, and she can cast spells a little bit. And then all the attack is done by Cheshire. And then there's also a lot of these like puzzly things where you like have to like throw Cheshire onto these cliffs, and then you have to like go a different way around and like try to reunite. And if you're too far apart, like Cheshire starts to lose power. So you really have to be careful about like moving her a little bit and then moving the Cheshire a little bit and like figuring out where to go. But yeah, I think it's a really unique Bayonetta experience, and I really liked it. I'm probably gonna keep going and play the rest of the game. I finished the demo. So.
Did you get it already?
Yeah, I bought it already.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep going and see.
Cool.
See what happens. But I really liked it. It's really fun.
I'd actually really like to play through the game, but it won't be happening until July
until 2034?
August / 2024. We'll see. So going back to again to last week's episode, you made a comment that turned out to be quite controversial.
The indie games comment?
You said there
were mad at
there
me.
have yet to be any big or notable indie games this year.
I mean,
and people came after you.
People really did. Like, that was kind of mean, you guys.
To be fair, some indie games are so like they become so popular, they're like front and center, you can't miss them.
Right.
There's a lot of, it's not to say there aren't good indie games, but like the process of finding them is hard.
It is really hard for me because I have very limited time in my day to dedicate to something.
Right.
And this is just me, I usually gravitate towards something that either someone has recommended to me or that is really popular that everyone's playing. But it is hard for me to like wade through the eShop or Game Pass or whatever to like try like 20, 30 games until I find one that I like. I don't have, honestly, the time to do
You're not
that.
a risk taker. We know that about you.
I'm a risk taker,
but there was
I don't
one
like
game
wasting my
that
time.
people really mentioned a couple times and gravitated towards is Pizza Tower.
Yeah.
Which I said, this is on, this is a Steam-only game.
Yeah.
I now have a Steam Deck.
Right.
So challenge accepted. I'm going to check this out and see if it's as good as people say.
Yeah.
This is a game that I had heard of a little bit and looked at a little bit, but I kind of crossed it off in my mind. So, I don't know if I like this. So it's a bit tricky to describe too. So it says, even in its own kind of write-up, it says it's inspired by the Wario Land series, which to be honest is not a series that I really have a ton of affinity for in the first place. So that doesn't really mean much to me. But it's a 2D platformer where you play as this kind of pizza chef looking guy. And so you really simply, like the goal is to get to the end of the level and then a timer kicks in and you have to make it back to where you started before the timer runs out or you lose. So
interesting, go backwards.
Yeah, so that's an interesting idea. It's not just get to the goal. It's get to the goal and find your way back. And all these levels are pretty big. Like, I would kind of compare it to like those Sonic levels that we talked about, where it's not
get lost,
it's not just a straight A to B. There's a lot of kind of different routes you can take or different paths you can take. And that was something that made me nervous a little bit at the beginning, because like, oh, if the clock's ticking and I need to get back and I could get lost really easily, that's not going to be fun. That hasn't happened a lot. Usually, your way back is different than the path you took getting there. Like, the levels are designed in a way
where you can't just take the straight way back. You probably can't get back up certain
There's
certain areas.
Yeah, there's kind of a path getting there, or there's a number of paths getting there, and then there's a number of different paths getting back that you can take. So that's interesting, and I'm glad that they did what they could to rule out the frustration part of that, because that could have, I could have just
that would have been a turn.
I'm done with this game if I just got lost. So I actually haven't had a lot of problems with the getting back part, which could be really stressful. So you have a lot of interesting like capabilities and powers. So like the Wario thing is like you can run and you can build up momentum and you can like run through walls or run through enemies. You can grab enemies and you can just like throw them away. You don't really have a life bar per se.
Okay.
You can take as many hits, like you never die unless you're in a boss battle. The boss battles are a little bit different. It all seems to come down to like what is your score at the end of the level.
I see.
So, and I'm just trying to experience this game, so I'm not at a point where I'm really concerned with the score. So, again, taking something that could be frustrating and making it not that frustrating.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of really like one-off game mechanics that they put into these levels, which have been interesting to see. A lot of these are kind of like transformations. So I got one where like you jump into a barrel and you start rolling, and you jump and you can interact with things differently. I found one which was really complex, where they even give you like a mini tutorial where you're riding on like the back of this hamster.
Oh, hamsters!
And you can throw the hamster.
Oh my!
And there's a lot of different things that the hamster can do that you normally can't do.
Kind of like Kirby.
A little bit, but these are mechanics that you only get once, and they never seem to come back in any of the other levels. So they're like unique to that level.
Oh, interesting.
Which is neat, because that's a lot of work to put into a game.
Yeah.
And not every level has one of those, but
right.
I'd say like half-ish of them have.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. One of the things that did turn me off about this game initially was the art style.
Yeah, you were saying the aesthetic was a little bit unique.
The comparison that I see most is like a Ren and Stimpy kind of like 90s Nickelodeon cartoon.
Okay, interesting.
Where there's kind of a certain style, but you'll often see it depicted in these different styles. Like, I don't know, I just kind of, it doesn't really click with me that much.
Okay. But you like Ren and Stimpy.
I do, I love Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
But so I'm not sure if that's really the perfect comparison for it. It's just not an art style.
Does it look gross? Because Ren and Stimpy has like kind of a gross, or like some of the Nickelodeon cartoons has like a little bit of that gross factor.
Yeah.
That was like funny when we were kids, but like, is that what it is, or?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just not an art style that super clicks with me, which is fine. Like that's not hampering my enjoyment of the game.
All right.
There's a pretty steep-ish learning curve, because again, there's so many mechanics that kind of go beyond what you would expect in a standard platformer. So like there's the running, and then once you get up to a certain speed, you can run up walls.
Oh.
And
so it is like a little bit like Sonic too, where it has
it does have some Sonic stuff. It's definitely not like the Sonic where you're just running for the sake of running. Like you do need to be reacting to things,
strategic,
and considering your path and what you're going to do. But this game has grown on me. I wouldn't say that it's like game of the year, like some people have said.
Yeah.
I've seen some people saying that, but it has been fun, and I'm glad I found it.
Yeah.
The people on our Discord who were pointing this out, they were saying, I guess the developer has not been like super open to bringing it to other platforms, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So who knows if it'll ever come to anything more than Steam, but that's why I get the Steam Deck.
I know, so one of us can play it, right? There you go.
And I guess this game is also not super long, so I might
finish it.
Oh, only got a few days before.
It's so remastered. And Advance Wars.
I'll do my best.
Yes.
I'll do my best.
Yes.
Resident Evil 4 is not on this list. What happened to Resident Evil 4?
I was on vacation.
So what are you going to do now?
I'm going to go back to it this week.
Okay.
I got to finish that game. I'm almost
Are
done.
you playing Final Fantasy Pixels?
Probably not.
Are you playing Advance Wars?
Yes.
You are playing Advance
I
Wars.
love Advance Wars. I have to play Advance Wars, at least for a little bit.
I think you can finish it by the time Advance Wars comes out.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I only have like 4 or 5 more chapters left, I believe. So.
The other big thing I've been playing is on the Playdate.
Yeah, catching up on your Playdate.
It's been a little while since we talked about the Playdate. So Playdate did a pretty big update maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Where they rolled out a whole store where you can buy games straight from them.
Yeah, it's like the eShop basically.
Pretty much. And I think they're doing a whole other season of games that you can get into if you want. So they have about 12-ish games that they sent me codes for, so thank you for that. And I just spent a night playing through all of them.
Yeah, those are like really quick little experiences, so it's perfect.
These games are very, like, I can tell immediately if I like it or not.
Yeah.
And the ones that I don't, it's like, I'm just noping out of this.
Right.
I mean, some of the games they don't do the best job of taking advantage of the hardware. It's just like, oh, here's a pretty standard, like, Tetris-y puzzle game. It's like, I don't know why this is on this platform.
Right.
It's not really taking advantage of it. I could probably have a better experience with something like this on something else. So I just like, no. I did find 4 that I wanted to talk about out of that group. The first is Grand Tour Legends, which I'll just tell you up top is a Bodhi contender.
Oh!
On the Playdate,
Black
believe
and
it or
White
not.
Bodhi? BW
Yes.
Bodhi?
So this is a cycling game, bicycling. I think I showed you this before.
So you can see it from the back.
And all you do is so turning the crank is very close
like
to
the
cycling.
pedal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's actually all you do. You don't do anything with the D-pad, but you are going like up and down inclines and you have a stamina meter. So you are trying to manage your pedaling with your stamina and using the inclines to your advantage to win a race.
Oh.
It's very simple, but it's very fun. There's different cyclists you can choose from, and they have different stats. You can do different things. The graphic, I've seen a few games now on the Playdate that are using this kind of like really detailed graphics, but they've somehow scaled it down to work on the Playdate. I don't know how they're doing this.
Right.
These graphics seem too good to be on.
It's too crisp.
There's some trick they're using.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still,
Black and white.
Black and white, small screen, small resolution. There's only so much you can do, but I've seen a couple games that are doing stuff like this. It's impressive.
It's pretty impressive. And
It's
it does
impressive.
have a very distinctive style, which I like.
Yeah. The butts, though, like they have a mind of their own. They're just like flapping in the wind as this person is like cycling away. Again, you have to see it to believe it.
It's like butt physics.
Strong contender for Bodhi.
Like this.
This is the closest. Like, whoa.
There's 2 cheeks.
All right.
Like
Point taken.
Twerking on that bicycle.
This next game, I really have a soft spot for this next game, which is called Heidi Spot.
I like the title.
And again, like I didn't know what these games were in a lot of detail going into them. So I'm like, what's this? What's this about? And in this game, you're playing as a kid a couple days before Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like the middle of the night, you wake up, you're like, I'm going to find the presents that they're hidden around the house.
That's so cute.
Before Christmas.
You did this.
I've absolutely done this, so I can relate. And it's kind of this top-down style, and you can go in all of the different rooms in the house and like
stealth
and snoop around, and like you go into a closet and like move clothes behind, like, oh, I found a present. And there's like 10 presents or so, and you have to do certain things to find them.
Okay. Does mom catch you? Is there like a stealth kind of thing?
I kind of cut my playthrough of this short because like I want to come back to this when it is Christmas.
Yeah, you need the Christmas vibe.
We're always talking about we need Christmas games.
I know, there's not that many.
And this is such a great Christmas game that I'm absolutely at it, and it's short enough that I could just play it like every year now.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of charm. Like it's kind of like there's little like running commentary from the point of view of the kid that's really like sweet and nice. So I like that one a lot.
Okay, that's really cute.
Carve Jr. is a snowboarding game where you are using the crank to kind of
like do the
what would you call it? I don't snowboard. What do you call that? Basically just to steer your snowboard.
To carve. That's what it's called.
That's actually what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. No. You can also, so you're using that, and you're also doing a couple things on the D-pad.
Okay.
Like you can like duck down to build momentum.
Okay.
Is that a thing you do?
Yeah.
And then you can also press up to jump.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're trying to like get through the course, but also do some cool stuff.
I like it.
The controls were a bit tricky. Using the crank with the D-pad is just because you need the way you're turning the crank and the way you're holding it.
At a certain speed or
it was just a little uncomfortable to do both at the same time, and maybe I just needed more time with it. But it's one of the more, I'd say, complex games that I played of this group. If I could just get the hang of those controls a little bit more, it would be cool.
Yeah.
This last one, The Botanist, I would describe this as like an interactive comic book.
Okay.
Where you're turning the crank and it's kind of going like panel to panel.
I see.
And in some panels, there's nothing happening. You're just taking in a story. But in other panels, you do need to do some sort of gameplay-ish thing. So it's a combination of like story with very, light interactive stuff. It actually takes place in outer space where you're like exploring and trying to find something on this far-flung planet.
Oh, okay.
So it's got kind of a sci-fi feel to it. The thing with this was it's only about 15 minutes long, like the whole thing.
Oh,
I finished it.
Literally can just read the thing.
Yeah, it's like boom, I was done.
Was the
It's like,
story
oh
good?
wow. It was cool, yeah, I liked it. Like there's not really any dialogue,
scary?
so it's all, no, it's kind of cartoony. It was good, I liked it. But I wonder, like, is that
like volume 1?
Right.
Is there like a volume 2?
Is that the first issue? Are they
Yeah.
like?
Does it end on a cliffhanger?
Because that could be a cool way to do a series. Like I remember when I was at Konami, we did have like there was the Metal Gear Solid interactive graphic novel.
Yeah.
There was a Silent Hill interactive graphic
those,
novel.
yeah.
Those were really neat, and I don't know if anybody's doing a lot with that kind of style, but I did like this, but it was quite short.
I like that style. I think it's really fun to have that's a bedtime game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the 4 that I really liked. Sadly, I don't hear a ton of people talking about the Playdit anymore. I hope it continues to be a viable platform for people to make games on because it is so unique. But yeah, there's still some cool new stuff coming out there.
Yeah. Sounds like they're still updating it, which is great.
Yeah. Anything else you've been playing?
Now.
All right, let's get into this mega news segment
news.
here, which, oh boy, it just keeps going and going and going. Well, let's start with this Tears of the Kingdom trailer.
Yeah.
The final trailer, we should say.
The final trailer, they said very specifically.
Again, we have our full reaction to the trailer on the channel.
Yeah.
But now that we are a week-ish past, what are your thoughts now?
Yeah, I think the trailer really did a lot to answer some of those lingering questions that we've all, maybe not you, but we've all had about what is going on with the story, like what is the scope of this game. I think it was pretty, I really liked the gameplay demo, but that truly was very focused on specific gameplay mechanics, and without the context of like where this sits in the story or what story surrounds the mechanics, it's hard to understand like how big Tears of the Kingdom is going to be in comparison to Breath of the Wild. And I think this trailer did a good job of telling us that answer. And it's going to be huge. There's tons of characters that they showed. There are really cool like story moments that I think piqued a lot of people's interest. Like we both had that reaction, and I still feel this way, and I'm really excited about this, is like we didn't want the world to feel empty. And there was, they showed like villages full of people and characters that you love coming back.
Like a big like group battle almost. I'm very interested in that.
Exactly. So it just feels like there's a lot happening in this world. It's very vibrant. It feels like the story is going to expand upon the foundation that was built in Breath of the Wild, which was admittedly a bit light on the story. And it brings back all these characters that I think we love. And we want to know more about them and how they kind of fit into the Zelda universe. And so I think that part of it is like super exciting.
Yeah.
And like it really definitely gave me the goosebumps and made me excited about this game coming out.
Yeah, the goosebumps.
The goosebumps.
For a long time, everybody had been saying we want this game's version of the 2017 trailer, which isn't like one of the best trailers ever.
Right.
But I wouldn't say it was like super indicative of the final game experience of
That's
Breath of the
thing,
Wild.
Yeah, because when you watch that trailer, you do expect so much more story.
Like, that game to me is much more slow play, subdued.
Yeah. Yep. And you're really
relaxing almost. And that was like, we got the bombastic music. We've got like, we're using all the ammo from the cutscenes to show the most emotional moments.
And the thing with the Breath of the Wild is the cutscenes were so like not the focus. Like those memories, it was done in a way where it was supposed to be like you can kind of trigger them whenever you feel like.
Right.
It wasn't like really something that was pushed on you.
Right.
Which was not what we saw in that 2017 trailer.
Right. So my expectation is Tears of the Kingdom will be similar to Breath of the Wild, and it's not, you know, the Hans Zimmer soundtrack blowing you away as you play this game. Like, it's going to be a bit more slow pace. It's going to be a bit more methodical. It's going to be, you know, at your speed. But it's interesting that so many people wanted that again.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
no, I might disagree with you a little bit on that. Like, I kind of feel like they're going to push you a little bit past like the let's just hang out under a tree for 10 hours and listen to the wind blow. Like, I do feel like with this trailer and just with like the amount of story details that we're seeing, it's going to be way more than Breath of the Wild.
You're just falling into the same trap of what you were talking about for the last one.
I'm falling
It's not going to be like that.
But I think that's what they're going to do to make this game feel like the step above, which is what we both talked about this a lot. Like, our expectations are kind of like managed with this game because we're both, you know, not worried, but we both want to be realistic that you might not have those same feelings that you did when you played Breath of the Wild, because that was just a brand new experience. And I think if they are thinking about that as well, like, how do we take that magic that everyone experienced playing Breath of the Wild, like, how do we like up the ante? Like, making that a bigger deal, like the more like exciting story, or the more like making that more forefront. I think people want that. So that could be a way to like differentiate it.
Some people.
Game of the year, if you want it. Put the story first and foremost.
Some people.
You don't want that, but I want that. And I think 90% of the Zelda community wants it.
Well, I mean, they have to cover all of these different things that people want. Like, I'm feeling very satisfied with the new mechanics, like the fuse mechanic. We never saw that coming at all.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting. And all of these vehicles, like the vehicles, I wonder, like, how complex is it going to be for people to, like, are some of these just going to be so hard that, like, you don't bother?
Who's going to be spending, like, I'm sure there's going to be someone that's going to be, like, real deep in that, but, like, what are the general people going to do? I'm like, am I just going to put, like, 2 logs together and, like, call it a day so I can just get from point A to point B?
I wonder what the cutoff for, quote, regular people is for that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
But it does look cool. And all of the sky exploration, that's probably what I've made the comparison to Wind Waker before, where you just want to go, you want to go, see, you're chasing the high of that next cutscene. I'm chasing the high of that next island and what I'm going to find there. It's different.
I want to see the Zelda
It's different.
Link.
And it's a literal high because I'm in the sky. Do you understand?
In the sky. Okay. All right. That's fair. It's fair. I mean, everyone wants to experience the game, you know, with what their most important thing is. And I think if that can deliver for everybody, like, that's pretty incredible, you know, for a sequel game. Right.
So it seemed like this trailer really hit for most people, even the people who were skeptical or getting nervous or worried. So I think this game has, you know, really the final trailer is probably the last thing they're doing as far as putting out new information. So I think they pulled it at just the right time. Yeah.
I think it's interesting the way they paced this because, again, we had such a drought of information for a long time. And then they chose to show the mechanics first, which I think excited some people but caused other people to have a lot of lingering questions. And then they answered sort of the remainder of those questions with this trailer shortly after. So the pacing of it was kind of interesting and a little bit, it's definitely Nintendo-ish. Gameplay first, everything else second. But yeah, I think it did its job. And now you have said for a long time that you might not love this game as much as Breath of the Wild. What do you feel now that you've seen this final trailer?
Well, I want to know, the one thing they've not gone into detail in, but they've hinted at, is what's happening on the ground level. They said so many things are different, we can't even tell you, we'd run out of time. Well, I'd like to know a little bit more. Like, I think that could be a make or break as far as how fresh it feels, because that's probably going to be more than 50% of where you're spending your time.
That's true, yeah.
So, I mean, I have faith that they'll do a lot of stuff, and I still have faith that that'll be a fun world to explore. But as far as that sense of newness and exploration and novelty, that plays a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then that we have the whole Zelda shrine or the shrines debate, which will rage on.
We saw something in that trailer that looked bigger than a shrine. I'm just saying that's my personal take, is that maybe they found some happy medium between the two things.
Yeah.
To really, again, up the ante for the game, to make it feel bigger and more encompassing than Breath of the Wild for some people.
I guess we'll find out when the game leaks. Which is what always happens.
This is where someone snaps a pencil. Okay, well. Uh-oh. Try not to get spoiled.
Yeah. So Game of the Year? Is there anything else that we know of this year that can really snatch that away?
Final Fantasy 16, maybe?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that I've not seen too much. I mean, just from the announcement. I mean, that game's coming out soon, so we'll see.
Starfield?
Polarizing. I mean, could I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Polarizing, though.
People
Resident Evil remake?
Yeah.
Although if a remake beats a brand new Zelda game, that will hurt. That's going to hurt them.
I've seen a lot of people saying in a post-Elden Ring world, like Zelda does not really keep up with that in a lot of ways, but I do really challenge that, like, what exactly does Elden Ring do that Zelda does not already do or do better?
Yeah.
I mean, the combat is definitely more complex.
Right. The graphics are definitely
are better.
Much better.
The
story is confusing to all hell, but I think I think what it does is it causes people to, like, think deeply about a lot of stuff.
Which game are you talking about now?
Elden Ring.
It didn't cause me to think at all.
Well, you don't like
one
story.
Single second.
You don't like story, but I watched like 45 videos trying to...
And did you figure it out?
No, but I liked it.
You told yourself that you liked it.
I want to unravel. Like, I'm
You're like, oh, George R. R. Martin, I must like this.
No, I just want to, like, I want to unravel. Like, the characters are built in a way where it, like, makes you want to know about them.
Well, good luck getting to the bottom of that. I would say another point in the favor of Elden Ring is, like, all the different classes that you can do, like the character building, character customization.
Customization.
It's like Zelda's not even trying to do that.
Well, you cannot.
At all.
Yeah.
But as far as that, like, the worlds are both large and different and great. But I'd say, like, the ways that you explore the Zelda world that's where I really give Breath of the Wild and this new game the edge.
Yeah.
Where you're basically really on the horse in Elden Ring, which is great. But as far as really getting into it and exploring all the nooks and crannies, you can't do that the same way that you can here. So I think they have a lot in common. I wouldn't say that, like, one is really blowing one out of the water.
Yeah.
I also don't think the Zelda team is, like, too worried about.
I don't think they are, like, trying to, like, one up Elden Ring.
But a lot of them are like, what's
that.
Elden Ring? Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I've never played this Mario game before. We haven't played any games.
I don't play video games.
We just make
I don't
these
even
games.
like video games. I just make them for
That
a
was
living.
an all-time comment. It's like, have you played Odyssey in the same year that the Zelda team was working on Breath of the Wild? No, we have not even seen that game.
Why would we bother?
Oh, okay then. See that you're all separate. Okay. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Nintendo Live. We have another video on the channel reacting to this and analyzing this.
Yeah.
So we also have a cool poll that we did on Patreon about Nintendo Live. Anything, again, new thoughts a week later that you want to share about this?
Well, I think we shared a lot about, like, what we know about Nintendo Live because we went to the one in Japan.
Right.
I still think there's a lot of, like, unanswered questions about this event and what is it going to be and what the scope of it is going to be. And there is, like, a big question about, like, how people can actually go. That is...
Right.
That some new information have sort of, like, come out about that we can talk about, like, the ticketing process potentially could be tricky.
So, yeah, my read on this is, I mean, all they announced is the location, the month, and that it is happening.
Yes.
But other details of like when exactly, where exactly, how do I get a ticket are up in the air. So this leads me to think that they're a little behind
definitely.
on their planning, which is not surprising, knowing how things go.
2 days before.
But they needed to put some information out there so
people can get it on their schedule.
Just put a hold on their schedule if they were planning to go. They do need to get that out quickly though. And even the logistics or like the fine details around what exactly is going to happen at this, I'd like to know.
We don't know. Yeah.
So let's go into this poll because this is interesting. So we just said Nintendo Live is finally coming to a country outside Japan when it arrives in Seattle this September. While Nintendo still hasn't told us everything about the event, how are you feeling about it based on what we know now? 16% of people said, I'm interested in traveling to Seattle to attend in person. Smaller number, but how many people are going to actually go to the trouble of traveling?
Yeah, it's expensive to do that. Yeah.
62% said, I'll watch a stream of the event. Yeah.
Yep, they might stream some of the tournaments or some of the stage stuff.
This next one's interesting. 18% said, I don't really get what this event is and I need more information.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that our audience is the most plugged in of plugged in Nintendo fans.
Yeah.
So for that's a pretty big group of people
who are like,
That's a bigger
percentage than the people that want to go.
What is this?
Yeah.
Like, that's what, if I was Nintendo, I'd be worried about that group of people who could like potentially really get a lot out of this, but are confused about it.
Right.
So they better get started on that. And then 4% said, I'm not interested. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I got some quick comments here. Tuscoob said, I'm absolutely going to go. Curbing expectations, though, since it's curious to see many expecting this to be Space World 2. My most optimistic hopes are that it relates to a potential September Direct, which is something we thought could possibly happen.
Yeah.
How many people actually know what Space World is these days?
Oh my god, I love Space World.
Is that in the meme zone? Space World?
It's gotta be in the meme zone.
Wait until Space World. I mean, that's been in the meme zone for decades.
For so long, yeah. I'm
Meme Zone Hall of Fame, Space World.
Space World, yeah, no kidding.
Gartooth says, I don't understand the point of this event or why Nintendo's fans should be excited about it. Whoa! It looks neat for people near Seattle, but I doubt I'll be engaging with this event online. Okay.
Yeah.
Fast says, I'm really hoping to attend in person. Despite having little knowledge of the details so far, from what I've seen, it seems like a fun way to connect with other Nintendo fans and celebrate something that we all love together. I just wish they would announce the dates and how to get tickets because I have a couple other things I'm trying to do in September.
I think a lot of people are trying to do PAX in September.
That is, I think if this is in line with the event that we went to in Japan, then that's definitely what you can expect. And finally, John Pyers says, since these events are never anywhere near us, we're always disappointed. The only thing I've gotten from any gaming event is to see gameplay for upcoming games, which is fine. I enjoy that, but there's always that lingering disappointment from never being able to participate. So when these announcements are made, I'll keep an eye on YouTube channels.
Yeah, that is the one drawback. I think one of the major drawbacks of a live event is you can only have it in one location, and that's not going to work for everybody.
And that has been something Nintendo's been trying to solve for a long time. And at all sorts of different events, whether it's E3 or PAX or Comic-Con or now this.
Yeah.
Like, how can you bring, because everybody realizes only so many people can actually go. Like, how do you bring that experience to the masses?
Yeah.
And it's a hard question.
It's a really hard question.
It's not as easy as like, just stream it.
Right.
There's more.
There's so much more about that feeling of being at a live event that you cannot capture on a stream, right? So
yeah, so that's absolutely valid.
Yeah.
So they've got some work to do.
They have some work to do. They have some information to share. I think the most important thing is just the final dates and ticketing information, because I think that's going to be important to people who are going to make that decision to attend or not.
Yeah.
I did see a comment on our video when we reacted, or when we shared our experience going to Nintendo Live in Kyoto, about how they had a lottery system for the Kyoto event.
Oh.
That was somebody in Japan that was trying to attend that Kyoto event and said it was a pretty awful experience.
Yeah.
And I can see how that might be, because if you're going to be doing a lottery and you're trying to get your dates together and your travel plans together, but you don't know if you're going to be able to go, like, that could be kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's not just plans for this event, but again, like, if you, like us, believe that this is going to overlap with PAX to some extent, and you're kind of weighing, like, you really need to know.
I mean, PAX, you can pay and get the ticket and go.
What the deal is.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a tricky place to be in. And again, it's April now, but people want to get their stuff figured out.
Yeah, and it's going to get expensive, I think, to travel in the fall. So,
Right.
Especially if it's around Labor Day or the holiday or something like that. It's going to be. I mean, it's just traveling is hard these days. You need to have some semblance of planning period before you can pull the trigger on stuff like this.
We're nowhere near the end of this news segment.
No, we got to keep going.
Next.
Keep going. Okay.
Let's talk about this Nintendo and mod creator stuff. So the person who's been at the center of this, and there's a number, but this one guy's name is Point Crow.
Yeah.
And some of his videos were getting claimed. He got 2 copyright strikes, which the way YouTube works, if you get 3, your channel's like gone.
Scary.
So he's worried, and he put out a pretty in-depth video with his response to all of this. And it's been interesting to see from his point of view. Obviously, we certainly understand Nintendo's point of view very well.
Yeah, we certainly have dealt with some of this in the past.
And have been involved with this sort of thing in the past. So it's interesting to hear his point of view. I think we wanted to just go point by point and kind of react to each of these.
Yeah, and share, if there's a point that relates to work that we've done on this while we were at Nintendo, we will share our experience there.
And we did talk about this a little bit last week as it was starting to crop up.
Yeah.
Of this is always what happens, yet it seems mod creators continue to be surprised when Nintendo takes this action.
Right.
So let's just get into this. So he says, first of all, his mods are not being sold. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not making any sort of money off of it. However, he is making money off of the YouTube videos.
Exactly.
And he has over 1 million subscribers, and his videos regularly get over 1 million views. So he is generating income off of. He's not directly selling the mod.
Yeah, but off of the content he's creating based on the mods.
Right.
Yeah.
His next point, and this is where he lost me. He says the code he's created is custom and free of Nintendo assets.
Yeah, this is where it's. I don't know enough about. I certainly am. Have a little bit of a blind spot in terms of how you make a mod and how the code and stuff like that works.
So somebody in our Discord did say technically, in a semantic sense, there is a way you could create this where that could be, again, semantically true.
Right.
But let's go back to the basic question of could this mod exist without the base game that it's bolted onto? No.
Right, exactly. That's where, there's smarter people than I am that understand the ethics around that.
Right.
But from my perspective, it's you created something that mods the original IP of Breath of the Wild.
Right.
That IP belongs to Nintendo. Even if your mod is code that you've done custom and you've created that on your own, if you rip that code out and plug it into something else, that code might still work. Maybe that's where he's coming from. But the thing that you attached it to does belong to Nintendo.
Right.
So that's where I think, Nintendo does have a claim, right?
Right.
Because you have used it on
and what is actually creating the interest around these videos is that, again, you have changed Nintendo's property in a way that is different than what you can ordinarily do with it and is different from what people expect. Yeah. So the interest is not, there's a lot of games out there that have multiplayer modes. Nobody cares about those.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you rip the code out, the original code, and attach to something else that was not Breath of the Wild, would it generate that much interest? Right. Probably not.
No. Next point is that the videos are fair use per Nintendo's own guidelines. So fair use is something that all people on YouTube are kind of using in one degree or another.
We're doing it too.
It's true. And there are there is no great single definition of it, and all the different companies, if you're using their stuff, will have different interpretations of it too. So it's tricky.
It is very tricky. Sometimes we're really, really careful on our channel now. We're we know that some companies like Square Enix, for example, they're very claimy.
Yeah, we've learned movies, music, obviously, that's built into YouTube. They'll just take it.
But the movie stuff, we reacted to some of the Mario movie trailers, we were immediately
sometimes
demonetized
it did, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, so
and
you have to be careful.
And again, you could, like, there is a scenario where you could argue, like, well, no company should allow any sort of fair use, like, and they should all like clap down on all this stuff. It's like, so this is just a weird kind of gray area.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation by both sides, which I think is really tricky. Like, it's open to interpretation on the creator side, which I feel, because I am a creator now and I need to make a living and a business out of making this content. So you're not involved. But like, I feel it. I feel that. But on the other side, it's like the company has to protect their IP and have some sort of guardrails as well. So I understand that, because I used to be on the other side, and we used to have these conversations with, Nintendo when we were managing our creator program, and it's never a clear black and white kind of situation. So
next comment is, some of the videos claimed by Nintendo don't actually include mods. So he included like a spreadsheet.
Yeah,
and here are all the ones that were claimed. He made a point of saying some of them were not Zelda videos. I don't know what his point was about that, because they still had mods. It's like, I modded Super Mario Odyssey.
I modded Pokemon or something.
Like, yeah, it's got a mod. So, but he does make this point that there are some that are just regular gameplay videos that got flagged.
Yeah, one kind of like reminded me of a Nuzlocke video. Like, it was like, he just changed like the rules for the player.
So he has a good point about these. Yeah, and I think again, like, there's no automated system for Nintendo to catch these. Somebody has to go through all of these.
Right.
So I think they probably just looked at the thumbnail and title. It's his thumbnail did kind of look like it was in line with his other modded stuff.
Yeah, because I think that some thumbnail performs for him.
Right. So I bet if he disputed those, like, those would be overturned.
They'll probably be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was saying, like, this is happening with a lot of other people in the community who create mods. So again, I think that's what's happening is.
And of course, Nintendo's going to be like extremely. Like, they're in their mode right now where they're looking very carefully at these channels, and they're probably just taking a more blanket approach.
And at Zelda in particular.
Because Tears of the Kingdom is coming out. That's why. Like, you gotta lay low. You gotta learn to lay low when these things happen, So, so I think they kind of are doing like a blanket approach to try to just like fishnet everything as much as they can before this game comes out.
Yeah. It says next, Nintendo's copyright enforcement is sporadic and uneven.
Well, it's sporadic because they're probably doing it when certain games are coming out.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we said before of like, there's no like copyright robot that's doing this job. Like, there's somebody who is like literally looking at YouTube and making like a list.
We used to get the list.
So, I mean, it's like, I don't know what you would expect. Right. Where like, they're finding stuff, they're thinking about what they want to do, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things where once you get their attention, like, they're laser focused. But like if you did a video that made a mod and it had 2 views, they're like, well, maybe we'll let this one slide. It's not worth our time.
Yeah, but millions of views and.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of at their prerogative to enforce it however they want.
Right.
So I don't know how you can get too upset about that.
Yeah.
Now this gets into some interesting stuff here. So he looked at the terms of use, and he described them as the Zelda terms of use. I found the Nintendo Switch terms of use online, so I'm curious actually what specific document he's talking about. I don't know if it's referring to a specific piece of software or the platform overall, but it says no modding, but also mentions no streaming, no broadcasting, and no videos posted. Again, you cannot broadcast from your oil tanker deep in the Pacific Ocean.
Sorry.
Or your prison. Don't do that either.
You're in prison.
You cannot do that.
Bailed out by super things.
Right. And so he's saying that this conflicts with the written policies for content creators that they have.
The fair use
that are posted online. Those do exist. They're not easy to find, but they do exist.
Right.
So, what do you think about this?
Well, this is where it gets like a little complicated.
It does.
It's one of those things where, again, it's not black and white, and it's this gray area where Nintendo, at their discretion, because they own, it all goes back to ownership of the IP, right? At their discretion, can choose to enforce things or choose to interpret these guidelines in terms of use how they want, because ultimately they own this.
Yeah.
It does become really tricky because, as content creators, your livelihood is dependent on these kinds of terms of use and fair use guidelines. Like, at any moment, Nintendo could decide that all of our channels is violating this and then shut us all down, right? And I certainly don't want that to happen.
We have also found times where sometimes there's so many different policies, and sometimes they do overlap, and sometimes they do contradict each other. it would be great if we could get to a place where
There's
they were
one
it's like let's
blanket
look at
thing.
all of these policies we have that all talk about these things
Yeah.
and have consistency.
Yeah. So people can just plan.
I don't think that's a crazy request,
yeah.
but I think it's a low priority project. It's also a very challenging project.
Yeah. The other thing that I'll say, and this is really based on my firsthand experience working on the creator program, is that there needs to be more education at Nintendo. And you and I tried really hard to do this. And at times it was very frustrating on just really educating Nintendo on the value of creators. You know, like what they bring to the table is really different than what you would get from an advertisement or from a review, right? It really does, like, creators really provide this, like, really, you know, valuable thing to your brand, to building community. Like, that's a very valuable asset. So that was something that we struggled with when we were setting up the creator program and when I was working on that program and trying to, like, just tell them, like, this is really important, we really should do this, and getting met with a lot of, like, resistance because the control, the IP is so important. It's so, like, it's so tightly controlled at
But obviously,
Nintendo.
we were not suggesting, let's bring these mod creators into
No.
the community.
We were not.
Right.
We were not suggesting that at all.
Right.
Obviously, there was, like, a hard and fast rule.
I
there.
think there's a line that we should note between, like, general creators who are doing stuff,
Yeah,
which
that's what I'm talking
which is
about
true
more
fair
so.
use, and then stuff
Yeah.
like this where it's like,
Yeah.
it's very much within Nintendo's right to do what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm talking definitely more about, like, the general creators.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's tough because, again, like, it's a really weird to be on, to have been on and to be on the other side now, because, like, yeah, I certainly don't want, like, for general creators to have a really rocky, difficult path when it comes to creating Nintendo content, because
Right.
we do that now. So that would be pretty bad, you know, if that happened. And but yeah, it just makes it this whole, like, non-standardization of these policies and these guidelines really hard. And I honestly don't think that there's going to be, like, much change to this. And
Well, so his whole point is like, hey, I want to talk to Nintendo about this and try and change their mind. You're not going to change their mind. You're never going to change their mind.
That's the thing.
This is a
yeah.
waste of time.
Yes.
What he should do with these videos where he has more of a, you know, point of legitimacy, talk to YouTube. Because they're the service, they're the intermediary. They have to ultimately make a judgment on whether to accept what Nintendo is doing,
Right.
or take a closer look.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, in the cases of these ones that are just straight gameplay videos, I think you can get those overturned. The other ones, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, maybe pick your battle here. Definitely talk to YouTube. I think they would be helpful. Yeah, but I see what there's some points that he made, not on the modded stuff, because I do agree with you that is Nintendo's IP that you should not be modding. But on the stuff of, like, the fair use and creators in general, and having, you know, you don't want to go down the slippery slope of, like,
But I would say,
now all of this is
if he
gone.
did not have these, you know, spreadsheet of modded videos, Nintendo would have never touched those other ones.
Absolutely.
So
It's all related to the modded videos.
Right. I mean, there's, you know, thousands of creators who make these fair use videos who don't have these problems because they're not modding Breath of the Wild.
Don't anger them.
Right. So again, like, talking to Nintendo is going to be like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah, don't talk to Nintendo.
So
They're really mad at you right now. Don't talk to them.
I don't know if he actually expects to be like, I'm a fan, let me do this. Like, I don't know if he actually expects that to make a difference. He's obviously trying to, you know, curry favor among fans. Sure, and his community, which is fine.
I'm sure, like, likes his content, right? So I totally get that.
But Nintendo's no stranger to this sort of thing, no stranger to this sort of controversy. It's just like, yeah, in a few weeks we'll be on to the next thing. And
yeah, well, in a few weeks their big game is coming out, and guess what? That's gonna take all.
In a few weeks that game's gonna leak, and then they'll have something else to worry about.
They'll have another person they're going after. Oh lordy. Yeah, this is the thing. You gotta pick your battles. You do have to pick your battles. But there are some points about fair use and creator content that I think was tricky and valid. But the stuff about the mods, the stuff about, you know, using Nintendo's assets and manipulating the assets in that way, that it's never going to be okay with Nintendo.
Do not manipulate the assets.
We heard that a lot. That was like a tagline. Don't manipulate.
So who knows? Maybe we'll be back with another part 3 on this next week.
Yeah.
The news goes on. There was a Final Fantasy. What is it? Oh, this is wrong.
16.
16. I'm going to correct this in our doc here. State of Play, which was dedicated to Final Fantasy 16. It was about 20-something minutes.
Roughly?
With the producer showing a lot of gameplay, talking about the mechanics. Did you watch this?
I did not.
Okay.
I was on the vacation.
I did.
And? Game of the year?
It was nice to see more of this game. I felt like what we had seen so far looked great, but it all looked fairly similar of these very, action-y fight scenes that all seemed to be taking place in the dark.
Uh-oh.
And I was kind of wanting to see more
like world
variety.
Stuff? Yeah.
And they did show that. Like, they did show different areas, like some of the areas look breathtaking that you see, like these really great like fantasy worlds that you're going to be visiting. They showed the world map. I guess it's not just a free explore world map. It is kind of, here's a area, you go to the area, you do the thing, you pop out, you go to the world map, you go to the next one.
Oh.
I don't know if that's what people were expecting with this game, or if they wanted it to be proper.
That was not what I was expecting.
The areas seem big, but it's not go everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
2023?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Back to a world map, huh?
The combat on this game, I continue to have kind of a weird feeling about that I just want to play it to figure out for myself.
Okay.
I get that they're going real-time action, and I think that's cool, and I think that could be fun, but it seems to be just...
Is it frenetic?
One of these combo games where it's like, oh, we've got 9,999 hit combo, and this enemy is taking like a quarter of their life bar. It's like, I don't really want it to be one of those games.
Kind of encourages button mashing.
Right,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it will have a lot of depth where you're chaining things and comboing things, but I don't know, that for Final Fantasy, I get why they did it for that spin-off that came off a year ago of the first game, like that was very clearly an action game. This is maybe not my kind of an action game, but I really want to play it to see. They also showed a lot about these summons that you can do, and they had a specific name for them now that I'm blanking on. But it seems like there's a lot of fighting that you will do with these summons, and you're directly fighting as the summon, so it's not just a 2-minute cutscene anymore. That could be cool. It seems like you can get a lot of those. So I'm cautiously optimistic about these games. There's a couple things that I just have some strange feelings about again that I just need to play it, and it'll be out soon enough. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be getting it. I'm definitely not raging about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather just play it at this point again and just like see, how I feel for myself.
Right.
For myself.
In the world of Xbox,
Oh, I saw this.
Redfall, which is coming out very soon too. We forgot to mention that in our Q2 games.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Launching with a quality mode only. So they put out this tweet. It said Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X, 4K 30 FPS. Xbox Series S, 1440p 30 FPS. 60 FPS performance mode will be added via game update at a later date.
What happened?
Do you like to play in quality or performance?
I think I usually choose performance.
The frame rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always choose performance too because I usually can't tell the difference
Exactly.
in the resolution.
That's my problem. Is I can't
But the frame
tell.
rate, I can't tell enough of a difference.
Yeah, if it's like stuttery,
right?
or bad.
So I wonder why they chose to emphasize this. I saw some people saying they're kind of splitting the base because console players are used to lower frame rates, so they won't mind.
Right.
But PC players want more frame rate, so they're going to be annoyed. So it's kind of a no-win. I mean, I guess they're too late to have done a small delay, or who knows when it's coming out. They didn't put a date.
Yeah.
But it just seems like Xbox can't catch a break.
What's the deal
with these games?
Yeah.
Like, even this is like a big game that some people are excited about. Like, it's always got a little asterisk on it.
Something that makes you like kind of pause.
Yeah.
I wonder when it's just a later date. I wonder like how later, because if it's not that later, people might be like, well, I'm going to be doing other stuff, and I'll wait to get this game when there is.
Especially if it's on Game Pass and there's no, like, I'm not invested monetarily.
Right.
Like, I'll just play it later.
I'll just play it whenever.
And then you never do.
And then you never do.
Yeah.
I guess when they update that, they have a patch or something like that.
Yeah, but who knows, like, what else you'll be doing then, or what other game came out that you're focused on then. So this is tough.
When is this game supposed to come out?
This game's coming out soon. I don't know exactly, but soon.
Okay, well that's not helpful.
I'm gonna Google this right
Google it
now.
right now. Because is this game going to be the new Horizon Forbidden West of 2022?
May 2nd. So
When is Zelda coming out?
May 10th. You know, the Horizon DLC is also coming out this week. We forgot to mention that.
Of course.
Are you going to play that?
That's the one when he goes to, when she goes to Hollywood,
Los
right?
Angeles.
Los
You can
Angeles.
push off Resident Evil 4 even more
No, I want
by
to play
playing
Resident
that.
Evil. I'm not a DLC girl, I gotta say.
All right.
I'm usually except for Zelda DLC, I'll always play that. But
Okay.
anyways, this is like, yeah, people are gonna be deep into Tears of the Kingdom, and then this will be, yeah.
Is this what's going to happen to Starfield? It's like the game's coming out, but there's all these little fine print.
Well, this is why you can't get
thingies.
Game of the Year then. You see,
Oh man.
when the stuff happens,
They just
polish it.
the momentum. They just can't get it.
It's too bad.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
It's tough. All right, next story. Sega to acquire Rovio for $775 million. This leaked a few days before, and at that point it was $1 billion was what people were saying. So 775 is the total price tag.
Okay.
A lot of people seem to think this is a bad move.
This is Angry Birds.
Rovio obviously is a studio that does Angry Birds.
Is that still relevant?
So Dr. Serkan Toto, who's a good follow on Twitter, he's like an analyst, games analyst, says, this is truly mind-boggling. What sense does this acquisition make for Sega? Sega Sammy's market cap currently stands at 4.8 billion US, so they spend around 20% of that if the deal goes through.
Ooh.
Now, I would also say, yeah, Angry Birds, that has not been relevant for, let's see, it said Angry Birds came out in 2009. I would have said, like, yeah, by 2014 or 15, that was toast.
Yeah.
Remember they made an Angry Birds movie.
They have 2 feature films.
But then there's this graph here that's talking about the revenue that they're bringing in, and they actually had their highest year ever in 2022.
Whales?
So I don't know what to think of that. I'll admit, I don't know what else Rovio does. And I know they have been fiddling with the version of Angry Birds that's on the App Store to prioritize the one that has more microtransactions.
Right.
So maybe that's just working.
Maybe that's just what it is.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to make a read because there's conflicting information here. It's like Angry Birds has anecdotally seems to have fallen off.
I feel like there's not brand relevancy.
Right. Unless they have some other thing that we don't know that they're associated with.
That's
And who
making
knows?
them
I mean, that always happens.
317 million euros.
That always happens in mobile where it's like, oh, did you know this game makes $10 billion a day? I've never heard of it.
Exactly.
So don't blame us if that's the case.
Yeah, yeah.
It does seem like a lot of companies make these moves because it's like, we just need to get into mobile. We need a company that understands mobile because it's so fundamentally different. Like that's what Nintendo did with DNA.
With DNA,
It's like, we don't understand this space at all. We need help.
Yeah.
So like that's what Activision did with King. There's a lot of other examples of this.
Exactly. It's like you can't ignore the mobile market, I think, from a business perspective for a video game brand. So this must be it. And
there's a lot that Sega could do in mobile. I don't know if this solves all their problems, and the price tag does seem high, but if they are truly making more and more money, I don't know. Somebody more informed, please explain
Tell us
the ups and downs of this because there's conflicting information here, and again, I don't know what to make of it.
Right. Next. Whew, it just keeps going.
The Mario theme has been added to the Library of Congress. I don't know what that means. I read a lot about this story from a few different outlets. I don't understand what this means.
I think legitimate Library of Congress obviously like catalogs all of the important everythings in human history.
Do you know you can get a Library of Congress library card?
I have one.
So do I.
I love the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a librarian when I was a little kid.
Oh, really?
My mom was a librarian
not
for
too late.
a while. So, anyways,
Do you know Dewey Decimals?
Well, you use the Library of Congress system now.
Do you know Dewey Decimals?
I used to know Dewey Decimals. Yeah.
Wow.
The card catalog. But I used to know like how to put things into the Library of Congress catalog system. Anyways.
So you added this, so what do you have to say about this?
You confused me with the Dewey Decimal system.
Again, I don't understand what this means.
Well, it basically...
Is Nintendo going to sue the Library of Congress for this?
No, it's like you're officially added in as like a
notable work,
right, to be cataloged alongside other notable music works in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
It's the first video game theme in history to be added to this catalog. So that's pretty cool.
All right.
I think it's like a very good follow to this movie, making its way to all these like mainstream sort of like legitimate entertainment areas. Like the movie is continuing to be really popular. Obviously that has probably piqued the interest of something like the Library of Congress to add the music. But it just makes like all of these entertainment things feel like super legitimate, you know? Which is really cool.
The Library of Congress is a cool thing. There was some kind of viral story that was going on a few months ago about one of these new Congress people is like a comic book guy, and he was like, "Oh, did you know the Library of Congress has like all these vintage comics, and now I'm reading those. Cool."
Have to, yeah.
So
it's so cool.
I guess other countries have stuff like this where they're cataloging all this. They must.
They have to.
Yeah, but that's interesting.
I think London has a pretty
what their
library.
Purpose is and what is the full scope of that.
Yeah, but it's good because again, like we need to have a way to remember and like catalog all of these important things. In
the Video Game History Foundation.
Exactly.
Should I give my Gizmondo to the Library of Congress instead? I don't think they care. Like, Giz what?
They want to throw it in the trash can.
Please give it to the FBI for the Swedish mafia case.
You're gonna get arrested.
I'm not in
From
it.
The oil rig.
What?
You're gonna be.
Because I'm broadcasting.
Gizmondo.
I'm broadcasting Gizmondo from an oil rig.
From your Ferrari on the PCH.
Well.
And you're gonna need the super things.
Won't it be funny when I'm broadcasting from jail for doing illegal stuff? Yeah, funny how that works.
You're modding the Gizmondos.
Oh my gosh.
The Swedish mafia's gonna.
Last story is in sight. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been delayed yet again.
Oh no.
This is not the first time. The new date is February 2024. Said they needed more time for polish. The last time they showed this game, they really got trashed for microtransaction stuff and like battle pass stuff.
That was pretty bad.
I just want to know what happened to this studio Rocksteady. They were like the hottest thing going when they were making those Batman Arkham games.
Batman Arkham games were so good, like in the beginning,
and then
they really fell off.
And they made the last one, and they were like, "We're going to reevaluate what our next project is. It's probably not going to be Batman." And there was like rumor that they're making a Superman game, and then they came back with this, and it's like, how many years has it been since that last? Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It just shows like how precarious game development is.
Yeah.
And now they're like the villain here for like, I mean, again, I'm sure there was some business person telling them you need this in the game to recoup the budget or something, but this is a precautionary tale of AAA game development, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's unfortunate that you can't just enjoy games.
Yeah, and it seems like this game is like...
just wound up in all of these weird business decisions and this... Yeah, there's so many other factors that like come into play now to make something... you know, either loved or hated, and it just sucks.
It just seems like this game's toast, and it's like 8 months away.
Is the studio gonna like go bankrupt or something?
I don't know, but I'm officially worried. Officially.
Officially.
That's it for the news.
Oh boy, that was
a whopper.
That was meaty. Okay.
On to our questions. Each and every question we get is from our Patreon community. We also do an exclusive Patreon bonus Q&A every week. First question is from Joshy Josh. Hey both, do you think it was bad planning for Nintendo to release Advance Wars not even a month before Tears of the Kingdom? It seems that Tears of the Kingdom is cannibalizing all of Nintendo's social feeds, and while the two games are very different and likely have different audiences, the lack of attention to Advance Wars and their social channels and other media channels could impact if a more casual Switch owner who doesn't follow Nintendo Direct presentations even hears about Advance Wars at all. Am I being overdramatic here? I feel like I may be.
I think they're doing it on purpose because they don't want Advance Wars to get that much attention.
Yeah, I think this is the deal they made when they said, yeah, remember when we said we couldn't release this because of the war in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to release it, but we're just not going to make a big deal about it.
We're going to release it, but we're going to bury it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to give it marketing attention for fear of being canceled or insensitive.
And we did enough marketing up front when it was announced.
Yeah,
that
we're good.
The people who want this know about it already.
Yes.
And we can just,
move
as
on
they
with
say,
our lives.
pack and ship.
Yeah, pack and ship is the best
pack and ship
marketing strategy, honestly. Sometimes. I'm serious.
It's amazing what you can accomplish with pack and ship.
It's amazing how insignificant your job is as a marketer, honestly. Especially at Nintendo.
Jams has the next question. Hi, Kit and Krysta. Sorry if this question has been asked before. I was thinking about the Game Awards 2017 and the orchestra performance for the Game of the Year nominees. Do you know how much a part of Nintendo played in organizing the Breath of the Wild and Odyssey parts of the performance, or even if you played a part in this? For Super Mario Odyssey, they also got Kate Higgins to sing her part in Jump Up Superstar. Would this have been Nintendo's idea to get her to perform Jump Up Superstar, or would this have been someone else like Jeff Keighley? I found it weird they would have Jump Up Superstar sung to, but not also Persona 5's Rivers in the Desert. Well, Jams, let me tell you, the person who orchestrated all of this is right here.
It's me.
And it ain't me.
It was me. I used to work on all of these orchestral performances at the Game Awards. I'll probably have like a separate story time going into detail about how all of that worked because it's quite complicated. It was definitely like a labor of love between Nintendo and Jeff. Jeff is a big music person, as you can probably tell from all of the TGA orchestras he's done over the years, and that's a big part of the show, I think, for Jeff. And I've always loved that because I love the music in video games as well, and I always love to see music brought to life in this way as like a celebration at the end of the year for all of the great games that came out. So, yeah, me. We'll tell you about it later.
Oh, that's the answer.
That's the answer. That's the answer.
All right.
Right?
Sure.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. Next question is from Panasit. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about content creators. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I'm a PhD researcher currently writing a dissertation on streamers' impact on a single-player video game's narrative by the way they play, react, and narrate. You mentioned in your Super Mario Bros. Movie review that Nintendo had a concept of beautiful playthrough. What is that? Can you expand on that? Does the company favor a certain type of playthrough over the others? I know Nintendo had worked with popular YouTubers before, but I'm not talking about the popularity and likability of YouTubers, but more about the content within a playthrough. Do they prefer a certain play style? Do they want the streamer to narrate in a certain way? Thank you very much.
Ah, yes, the beautiful play. I think it's called beautiful gameplay.
Yes, and if you could do it, you were called a super player.
You're a super player, yeah.
This didn't really pertain to content creators necessarily.
Yeah.
It was more like
the way internally we would create a trailer,
right, like, hey, look,
and show off a piece of part of gameplay.
Right, or we would make a video that was intentionally like, look at the amazing things you could do that you might not have thought of from a true expert.
Yeah, and this is usually done with platforming games, I think more so than ever.
Yeah.
Or more often than not, sorry. And I remember it was very much a developer thing. Like, they really wanted to see their game, or they wanted to show you how to play their game in the most, like, flawless, beautiful, the way that it was meant to be sort of played. So that was, like, a pretty interesting way of like looking at it. I think the way that of looking at it from a Nintendo perspective, but the way that you're talking about is like how a content creator would experience a game, and it may not be through like perfect gameplay, but maybe just through the way that they communicate their experience and narrate it to their audience.
I think Nintendo wanted, the content creators to be relatable. I don't think they were necessarily concerned with, are they experts? Obviously want them to be open to and to like the games, but I think that was like kind of what, as on Nintendo Minute, differentiated us from something like Treehouse Live, which is like, we're not the experts. We're just regular people. Yeah. So if you want to see an expert play these games, you can watch that. But if you want to see, something closer to what, you might experience if you're hanging out with your friends, you can watch us.
Right.
So I think it's good that they recognize the full range of capabilities. And
like there's value for both sides of it,
Yeah. Policy Pace asks, hi Kit and Krysta, I met somebody this week with the same name as a video game character, and it made me remember the time Acclaim held a contest where they paid $10,000 if you named your kid Turok the day one of those Turok games came out. Then I remembered the time the makers of Shadow Man 2 paid someone to buy a billboard for the game on their gravestone.
Oh my gosh.
Good old Acclaim. Did you ever have a completely unhinged marketing idea come across your desk that you took part in shooting down, or have an unhinged idea yourself that in retrospect you are glad did not go through?
Unhinged. Nintendo was so strict.
Well, I think we knew better than to suggest something like that.
Yeah.
Tattooing Mario on your Doug Bowser's forehead or something.
That's really funny. Yeah. I don't think we had something that was like there were so many cautionary tales, I felt like, within Nintendo about some of these unhinged ideas. Like, do you remember when, such and such marketing idea went south?
Yeah.
It was like one of those...
scared straight.
Yeah. And then the legal team comes in and tells you, like, if you ever suggest this, you'll be slapped across the face kind of thing. That we were so terrified that we never really suggested anything. I think there was, like, some stuff, that was more, like, experiential. Like, I would say, like, when we did the West Coast Customs Mario Kart in real life, like, that was kind of unhinged, as in, like, God, are we ever going to be able to actually do this and like, make this into reality? That was more so, like, creatively unhinged, and somehow that one got through.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, tattoo your forehead, we didn't have any of those ideas.
Yeah. I had one idea that I was kind of into. I wouldn't say it was unhinged, but it was definitely complicated, and we didn't end up doing it, was for Mario Kart 8, which had the anti-gravity of putting actual, like, life-size physical, like, Mario Kart statues underneath bridges for people to find as, like, a viral, like, photo op.
Okay.
And it was not feasible for a lot of different reasons, but that was definitely weird and out there. And
Yeah.
it's like,
That's a good one.
oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poopy chair enthusiast. That's the next question. Hi guys, what was the reaction inside Nintendo to the outcry of fans wondering if Zelda would be playable or even the main character after the very first Tears of the Kingdom trailer? I know that's most certainly not the case now, but personally it makes me happy when damsels in distress are put in a more powerful position and get a chance to show off their abilities, especially in a mainline title. For example, I was on Cloud 9 when Peach was playable in Super Mario 3D World, and I always pick her. I'd like to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this came out that E3 when we first saw a glimpse of Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember very specifically when we were like, we were talking, it was like some passing conversation with the dev teams. Like, what do you guys think? They were like, people want that? Okay.
Well, we had been through this all before with Breath of the Wild. Because there was a whole, like, oh, do you think you might be able to play as Zelda? And I think he had been asked in a couple of interviews about that. And we understood the thought process of, like, and I think it was, these games are about, Link is the hero, so you're going to be playing as Link. So I think a lot of us after that just kind of put it out of mind.
Yeah, I think they didn't even really consider it as an option.
I know.
Is the thing.
I know people are still, like, holding out, like, oh, maybe this is a big secret that they're holding. Like, I'm not holding my breath for that. But yeah, I think internally, like, we kind of got over that whole thing with the last game.
And then they were like, yeah, people still want this? I thought we'd been over this. That was sort of the reaction. I remember that. I was like, yeah, people are still talking about this. What do you think? They're like, oh, whatever.
I'm off to forget about this again.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like a very passing...
Yeah. Right.
Like, this is not important to us.
Right.
Yeah, too bad. I would like it. Just to get that out there.
This next name is going to trouble me. Trilec09/Theophilus.
Yes, I think that's it.
Hopefully that's right. In all the Tears of the Kingdom trailers, we haven't seen anything about the divine beast from Breath of the Wild. The last scene of Breath of the Wild has Zelda and Link going to investigate Varuta. What are your thoughts or theories on the whereabouts of the divine beast? I put this in your court. In my cart? Story expert.
I'm not a story expert.
Please.
But I love watching all the other people that are. Yeah, I was wondering about this because I was looking at some of the character art that came out for right after the trailer. And it's like everybody from Breath of the Wild has grown up. So like some of the characters that were like kids in Breath of the Wild are like adults now. So I'm wondering, like, if that's the case, then does that mean that we're past the divine beast part? Or is where are we in the timeline of all
Back to the timeline.
Because then then we can understand where are the divine beasts, because they were really used.
Better get my cork board out.
You better get that, you got to get the string and the pins and stuff.
Do you think we will see them in this game?
I don't think so.
Really?
I think they're going to be different.
But
Like a whole different
Well, that's
thing.
not a yes or no.
Like they probably have another invention to help
But
us
not a
defeat
divine
Ganon,
beast.
but not a divine beast.
Okay.
Because we already used those.
Cool.
They failed.
It'd be cool if they came back.
They failed.
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person with me.
I think it's gonna be something different.
Okay.
Bigger. Maybe it's like they can form together to
But where are
one
they?
massive.
Where are they? Oh, wow.
Like an elephant,
Like a
camel.
Voltron.
Voltron.
Okay.
By our
That's
powers combined.
that is an interesting idea.
I think that would be cool.
Great theory.
Maybe there's a new one from the sky that comes down. Oh, wow. A sky.
Or the underground. We're talking all these
There's
rumors
also underground.
about
Maybe-
things happening underground.
Maybe it's a mole.
It's like a mole.
Yeah, it's a mole and like an eagle.
What if it's a pack rat?
It's like you.
It just throws stuff from the garage. Throws Gizmondo games at the enemy. Ganon.
That will really get Ganon off her.
He interrupts Ganon's squat reps to whack him with a Gizmondo.
He's really working on his uppers, not his lowers.
All right.
He's doing like bench presses or something. Anyways.
Next question. SJ Sharky777. With the success of the recent Mario movie, when do you expect Nintendo to announce their next Mario game?
Yes.
Would you prefer a sequel to Mario Odyssey or something brand new we've never seen before in a Mario game? Finally, what are your favorite 2D and 3D Mario games ever made? Mine are Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario 64.
Good choices. I know, where is the game?
This is one of the great mysteries.
I really want a Mario game to come out this holiday. I'm still holding out hope that they'll announce something in June around like what was E3 time.
2D or 3D?
I would love to see a 2D Mario game because we have not seen one in so long, and the last ones were a little bit generic. So I would like to see a proper 2D Mario game. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there still a place in 2023 for 2D Mario games to exist and be popular? Hopefully.
What?
I don't know. People
What a
expect
ridiculous
everything
thing to
be
say.
Open world and 3D
No.
and all sorts of stuff. So my favorite 2D Mario game is Super Mario World, obviously. My favorite 3D Mario game is Super Mario Odyssey. I've been saying this too, but like, what if we get like another Mario and Luigi game? I want to
That
see.
doesn't count.
I
It's a
really want to
spin-off.
see that too because, again, the movie has done such a good job with the relationship between the two. It'd be great to see a more story-based Mario and Luigi game.
That's what the masses want.
I want.
Role-playing game.
Give it to me. I'll buy it.
Okay. This
You're not answering the
feels
question at all?
like this feels like again. I feel like we're in that part where if you have something super super big, you kind of just hold it, unless it's
For the next Switch?
unless it's Metroid Prime, because
For the next
because they had such a perfect debut in 2017. You kind of like, what is the trade-off? Like, do we want to get this new platform off to a big start, or
Launch title?
or are we good with what we have to ride out the rest of the Switch? And
They're still missing that game for like the holiday time though. They need a biggin.
yeah, it's true.
then. And you know what's bigger than Mario? Nothing. So if you want little Timmy to freak out on Christmas morning, you get him the new Mario game.
Yeah. I like the same as SJ Sharky, Mario 3 and Super Mario 64. Those are my picks. Vidge Mixer has our last question. The Sportsmates avatars
Ew.
in Nintendo Switch Sports are divisive,
Ew.
to say the least.
You better be on my side, Rich McMahon.
Are they really divisive? Is there anybody who's really into
Who
this?
likes them? Who are you?
To be divisive, doesn't it have to have a both sides characteristic?
Do you like them, Vidge Mictor?
Oh.
Are you the one on the rights? Anyways.
But how likely is it that the dev team fully intended them to be honest-to-goodness successor to Mii's? Instead of calling them Sportsmates, they could be referred to as fill-in-the-blank mates to fit the other titles they'd be used in. Party Mates for a Wii Party sequel, for example. Oh, Wii Party. Ugh. There's a lot of bad memories in this question. Or Music Mates, or simply
Music? Are you kidding
Mates.
Can we not call them mates? It sounds weird.
Was
Playmates?
Nintendo
No.
Switch Sports Nintendo's way of testing the waters with these new avatars?
I don't think so.
don't
I'm
think so.
really upset at Nintendo for all of this drama. Because again, I'm going to complain one more time about this. Me and you, wanted to make cute little avatars of us for Nintendo Minute videos. And we had Lee Kovacs, who was wonderful and beautiful and great. She had like come up with all these cute little avatars for us, and we were going to like use as fun graphics inside our videos. And Nintendo was like, no, no, no. You two cannot do this because We have our own avatars, and they're me's, and me's are very important. We're going to continue to use the me's, and then no me's. The me's are gone, and then we get these awful sports mates or whatever they're called, and now they're gone too. So what's the deal? I'm asking you. What is the deal?
Yeah, when we first saw Switch Sports, we said, oh, so you can use me's, right? Like, no, we've got these other things.
They're so ugly.
It never made sense.
And then you put the me head on it, the body proportions are off. So
Yeah.
don't even give me that. Oh, you can play with
It's
me.
just a whiff.
It's not the same. It's a whiff.
It's all around whiff.
That game
Bring back me's.
was bad. Okay.
Woo!
I need to go to the bathroom really bad again, so we gotta get through this.
We can't stop now.
I know.
We're almost
Just
there.
saying we gotta go.
Okay.
Superstar shout-outs.
The clock is ticking, yes.
Here we go.
Uh-huh.
We love you, superstars. Aaron Hash.
Ben Eichhorn.
MaruMayhem.
Eigenverse.
KissMyFlapjack.
Mike Chin.
Mr. Rogers.
Roy Eschke.
Switching it up _
Sephazon.
TheSharkAmongMen.
vgmlife.
Link, the hero of wins.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
TurboChargeNerd.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LeBoeuf.
And Twin Dragons 76.
Yay!
What if I just read these as slowly as possible?
While I like squirm in my seat.
Watch you squirm,
I
yeah.
need to-
For calling me a pack rat mafioso. Heartless pack rat mafioso.
That's a good like gamer tag.
It's not.
It's a good gamer tag for you.
No, that like when you can like pick and choose
I
the
can't
things.
talk to you anymore. Go
That's
away.
like what you get the first thing. It's like kind of insulting.
What's up, Club Graduation Service? A. Ron Burgundy.
Adam and Ainsley.
Jean Malari.
Alejandro. Andrew Uhas.
Astro Dev.
Blazed and Enthused.
Bookem Dano.
Brad SF56.
Brooke Obscura.
Brookie Kazooie.
Bruce Dash.
Chancellor Fairley.
Shelly Squirrel.
Christopher Lay.
Cozy Tar.
Captain Alex.
C. Roper 17.
Daniel Cole.
Daniel Phillips.
Daniel Valencia.
Dogson. Desert
Colt 18.
Doodoo Face.
Dolce.
Dino Punch.
Elite Peach.
Sparts 50.
Fart.
Sparts 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound.
Fernie and Just Forever.
Fox the Ploy.
Fred Rossi.
Garrett Holfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
G-Sun 101.
Ian Shit.
Israel Izzy.
Jay Rando.
Jabroni Jones.
JK99.
JBJ.
Jeff Hernandez.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joseph DeHaze.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Just Camtro.
Justin Lemminger.
Kawa 2796.
Kelp Shake.
Kevin Delane.
Krisu.
Krista Roddy Kid.
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Kyler Nelson.
Linnell Stickman.
Lena.
Lil Sebastian.
Lit.
Mad Dog 5981.
Marky Man 64.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Michael White.
Nikki Conway.
Mickey.
Mania.
Mr. Andy Pong.
MSM Poke Gamer.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
My Train.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Panda.
Panda Buns.
Paul C. Pace.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless.
Raver.
Rain Tech.
Ray Chiron.
Ryuji Utsuho Kuu.
Renee Rivers.
Rick Alvarado.
Riot 1.
RJ Kern.
Rob Osborne.
Renana Rex.
Rox.
Rianetta.
Sam Nealon.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu.
Slowbro.
Schmills.
Shrews.
Silly Ferret.
SJ Sharky 777.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citrone.
Tales of Link.
Tefew.
Terrastorm.
Thomas Alvarez.
Topher Schmofer.
Travis Torline.
Troopage.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tusku.
Tyler Geis.
Tyler and Tracy.
Fesfes.
Video Game Stupid.
Virtual Bot.
Wicked Davey.
Will Ernst.
Will Johnson.
Zudaverve.
Zelgaroth.
And
Zroid.
Zroid.
Yay! We did it!
You can't just cut and run now. Gotta wrap this up.
Don't
Gotta
forget
land the
to
plane.
subscribe on Patreon. Patreon.com/Kit and Krysta to keep supporting all of this. Thank you very much.
Yep. And if you're watching on video, you can go ahead and subscribe to the Kit and Krysta channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave us a nice comment. If you're on audio, one of our great audio listeners, you can also subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating, and leave us a review there too on your platform of choice.
And don't forget to follow us on the socials. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Okay. I have to go.
We can tell.
Bye.
Bye.